injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Because every accident has a ripple effect. It affects your time, your health, your ability to make money, everything. That's where the advocates can help. Speaking with an attorney is simple and 100% free. We're available 24/7 for your convenience, and we'll take on the claims process so you can rest easy. Because you're not just a client to us, you're a person, and you deserve the best help you can get. You deserve an advocate.
Let's get you the very latest on the Pac-12 TV situation. How much does the Pac-12 need to get per school on an annual basis? We have done a lot of homework on this over the last couple of days. Remember, we told you yesterday in a Monty Show exclusive that the Pac-12 is in fact back at the table with ESPN and Fox Sports in a deal that would largely be centered around ESPN2 and FS1, as well as heavily streamed on ESPN+. A lot of the basketball would live on Fox Sports. Most of the football would live on the ESPN family of networks. But what is that deal worth? A lot of Pac-12 fans in the comments section yesterday get heated when I say I haven't been able to find anybody who believes that deal eclipses $10 million a year. And I can confirm that through multiple sources, well-placed television sources yesterday telling me it would, quote, be a Hail Mary if the Pac-12 is able to get more than $10 million a year per school. And you're looking at a deal, and remember, we go back 18 months. What did I tell you? That their media rights deal with that ESPN and Fox deal was at the time when they still had all of their membership. $90 million a year was the number. That was the hard stop that ESPN was putting on the Pac-12. That number has not changed, because the thing that was explained to me yesterday, and I think it is a really salient point, ESPN has all the brands they need. They're not buying brands. They're buying time zones, and they are buying windows, late windows. That's what you're getting in the Pac-12. But at what cost? In my opinion, I think that cost is $10 million per year per school. I think that's why it is so vitally important that the Pac-12 get to a place where they're not just at 8 teams. They have got to be at 10 teams. And eventually, they've got to be at 12 teams. But as soon as they possibly can, they are going to have to get to 10 teams. I was also told by a well-placed source that they have an understanding in their TV negotiations, because I think it's also important to note they are not only talking to ESPN and Fox. They are also still in conversations with the CW, I am told. They have also had conversations with CBS Sports. Those conversations did not yield the assets that ESPN and secondarily Fox Sports is bringing to bear, mainly in everybody's pocket, on everybody's phone with ESPN Plus. The streaming part of that is significant. So that's why we're hearing now that ESPN and Fox Sports is the most likely destination for the Pac-12. But one of the things that's so interesting is the conversations the Pac-12 is having with their potential TV partners about who they are targeting in expansion. And I am told very clearly and plainly that ESPN and Fox are on board if the Pac-12 is able to make an agreement with Sacramento State. I talked to a lot of people, both at Sac State and around Sacramento yesterday, who all are telling me their boosters, their donors, their faculty and staff, their infrastructure at Sac State is all in on getting to the Pac-12. It's what they are angling for. And a lot of it is that Sac State wants to be a dual threat in football and in basketball. And Jake, if you're Sacramento State, I do believe that the Pac-12 is a home run.
Yeah, for Sacramento State, it makes a lot of sense. You know, you're upgrading your situation. Obviously, you know, it's everything you would want in an athletic program, right? You're leveling up. You're on from FCS to FBS. Like, you're getting into a better conference, a better situation. You know, and I'm sure there will be some challenges with that for Sac State, but ultimately that's the goal. You're trying to improve your situation. And so, you know, I think for the Pac-12, you know, Sac State is a nice story. You know, obviously, it's not a team it's not like a power team coming to your conference or anything. But if it helps you get a deal with ESPN and Fox, that's obviously what you need to happen. And I think this is the most important part of the conversation for the Pac-12 is that this TV deal, it's not necessarily just about the value. The value really matters. 8 to 10 is obviously what we're being told. That seems to be what everyone's kind of agreed upon. But let's say that the TV deal does happen. From there, then we have to talk about, okay, well, what can you do to get in to the college football playoff more often? Because Sac State's not getting into the college football playoff with regularity. Sorry to break it to you. And I look at the college football playoff picture today, as we've talked so much about it on the show, and I sit here and say, yeah, the picture we have today is pretty indicative of what it's going to be for the Pac-12 down the road, assuming that the college football playoff is still a thing 5 years from now and we don't have a super league and that whole conversation doesn't happen. But the Sac State thing is great. It's a nice story. If it helps you get the TV deal, that's awesome. And I'm happy for the Pac-12. But the larger picture conversation for schools like Boise State and several others who join this conference is, how are we going to go about making more money? Because again, you're not getting away from the point that these schools now are being tasked with, okay, we joined a new conference. We're working on this TV deal. Let's call it $10 million a year we're getting from the TV deal. Now what? Now, how do we get into the tournament every single year? How do we go to at least a bowl game every year and get shares out of the bowl game? Like, these are all questions that I think athletic departments and football programs and basketball teams have to ask, because that's how you're going to survive. That's what makes the whole situation better for these schools.
Yeah, and I think the couple other details out of conversations I had with sources yesterday include, what is the distribution percentage and what is that agreement like with somebody like a Boise State? Because I think one of the things that was so clear, Boise State ran the finances in the Mountain West. They were getting an unequal share. That was to try and placate them. Is that same deal in place with new membership in the Pac-12? Because if you go to, let's say, 10 and you get $90 million, now that lawsuit with the Mountain West becomes pivotal, because you have to find a way to stipend Boise State, which is what you allegedly promised them to leave the Mountain West. I think that is a very key part of this conversation. And you look at how this money is allocated in different conferences, and you look at the unequal revenue distribution, you look at the Mountain West model or the AAC model, you're paying your biggest brands more money. You're giving a full share to Gonzaga already to join the conference. Had to do it. Great move. What is your promise? What is your handshake agreement with Boise State? And how much of that money are they getting? And if you lose that lawsuit against the Mountain West, or it is dismissed, which, again, yesterday, multiple people told me yesterday they don't believe that the Pac-12 has a leg to stand on in their and really it comes down to a unfair commerce. This idea that, hey, it's unfair to charge exiting members a fee and then charge us a fee for poaching. Most people believe, hey, you sign that contract knowingly and without duress, you're not going to be able to get out of that. Can you negotiate the Mountain West down? Well, the Mountain West has not shown the willingness or the want to do that.
Or the need.
Well, but how much in legal fees, and what is the tipping point in legal fees? Because that's really what this is going to come down to. What is the appetite of the Pac-12 to continue to throw bad money after bad money in a position where they know they're just trying to negotiate? Because nobody believes the Pac-12 wants us to go to a judge, because that's a bad outcome. That is a bad outcome for the Pac-12 if this antitrust, anti-interstate commerce suit essentially goes in front of a judge. The Pac-12's percentages are not high. And I think that's a really important part of this conversation, because if the Pac-12 is able to leverage ESPN for a $10 million per school deal, I think you're going to have to give Boise State and probably San Diego State an unequal share of that. And I also think that's why these next two seasons of basketball are critically important. If you are Boise State and San Diego State and Gonzaga and all of these new members, you have to continue to win, because you have to recruit basketball at a high level, because those tournament shares early in the life of this new Pac-12 are really incredibly important to pay the light bill. It is really important that you put multiple teams into the NCAA tournament. I think it is not, I don't even think it is an option to just have Gonzaga. You need San Diego State to continue their trajectory in basketball, in my opinion.
Totally
It's
agree.
got to happen. One other thing, I also had a conversation with a guy about Utah State. What value does Utah State bring to the Pac-12? I think the entirety of their value is that they're a full share member and they play football. It is still head scratching to many, and this has been a hot button issue on this show the last couple of months. Who would the Pac-12 add? And when they added Utah State, it took a lot of people by surprise because of the lawsuits, because it involves the DOJ, because it involves Title IX. A lot of people were surprised by that. And I was asked very pointedly, well, what value did Utah State bring to the Pac-12? Yeah, I don't know either.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know either, other than that they are a full share member that plays football.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I think at the time when Utah State was sort of in the middle of the conversation, like that's all it was. It wasn't like, oh, Utah State's like some juggernaut of a athletic department. It's more like, hey, like, yeah, they play both, full share. You know, we need them to kind of solidify some things.
Yeah.
Like that's what that was. And I think that's why the willingness to bring them in, even with all the issues, was there, because the Pac-12 had a need. And I can't emphasize this enough. And people are forgetting about this entirely, in my opinion. You're making deals right now based on the fact that you need money. It's based on the fact that you have to do X so that you can survive. So adding Utah State, could that come back to get you? Maybe. Will there be some pain as part of that process? Probably. But you had to do that, you know? Does the unequal revenue sharing with Boise State come back to cause problems? Maybe. But you had to do that to put a conference back together. So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of these steps that have been taken that you had to do as part of your path back to being a conference. But I'm just curious, will some of these come back up down the line after a TV deal is done and after you've played a season and all that? Because I do think that's a factor.
Yeah, and this is also why the GCU win for the Mountain West was so critically important. I think it's why the Gonzaga win for the Pac-12 and I think was incredibly important. But you have to remember, and I think people forget this part, the tournament shares do not move with the teams. They stay in the conference. And it's again why I will continue to tell you, basketball is incredibly important. It is the powerhouse and the financial revenue generator in the Big 12 and the ACC right now, and it needs to be that for both of these conferences. And obviously, in the Pac-12, you cause significant damage to the Mountain West financially. There is no doubt about that. That's why this lawsuit and the what I am told is the specific language in the contract between the Pac-12 and the Mountain West that included those poaching fees, the specific language that they wrote into that deal to protect themselves in the Mountain West, it's bulletproof. It is going to be really hard for the Pac-12 to win that case in front of a judge, and it's pulling a negotiating lever. Let's get into mediation. Let's talk about how we can pay you less poaching fees. That's why the Pac-12 filed that lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
It's no different than where Florida State and Clemson are with the ACC right now. They don't want that in front of a judge. They want negotiations.
Yeah, it's become common practice. So we don't like what we did. We're going to sue you, and hopefully we can get some, hopefully we can get something.
No doubt. Oak State James for $5. If Sac State can get into the Pac-12, bro, you said this exact same thing yesterday. You just paid us $5 to make the exact same comment you made yesterday, and the exact same comment we told you about weeks ago. This is cool. It's not a big deal. It is not a big deal. And frankly, Sac State they have the hearts and the minds of Sacramento. So they could play their games at the the old baseball stadium that was never built next to Arco Arena, and people would go and watch them play basketball. It is significant because Vivek Ranadive, the owner of the Kings, has said that he will give them the building rent-free. That's cool. And it does not make them much more attractive to future recruits. It does not. What makes Sacramento State, what would make them more attractive is they'd be in an FBS conference. That's what would the arena you play basketball in. I don't care what anybody says. Grand Canyon's arena is far more attractive than playing it at Golden One Center in Sacramento. It's the reality of it. Like when you're a college kid, you want a college environment.
Yeah.
Golden One Center in Sacramento does not give you a college environment. And playing in places like Cameron Indoor, the Dean Dome comes to mind, GCU's arena, playing at the Pit, like all these great basketball venues, Madison Square Garden. Those are great basketball venues for college kids.
Well, Monty, what do you mean? It's Madison. It's the Knicks professional building. Why is that any better than the Kings building? Oh, I don't know, because it's Madison Square Garden and it has a storied tradition, and like they've been doing that for years. Like there's a again, a tradition.
Yeah, I don't know. It is to me. Yeah. Anyway, let's get some of your comments in here. How much money do you think the Pac-12 needs to get per year in the comment section? I think it's got to be 10. If it's 7, 8, 9, you're going to have a really difficult time, in my opinion. It's got to be 10. And I just have not been able to find somebody to tell me that it's more than 10. I was told yesterday they haven't even talked about more than 10. And the problem, again, is this cart before the horse thing. It's the if you, then we conversation.
Right.
Which is a tough spot to be in.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot to be in. Charles, how is Gonzaga going to be successful each year? What do you mean?
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know what that means. Gonzaga also struck a deal with SWX that broadcasts their games all over the Northwest. I was in here yesterday and did not see any Pac-12 supporters get mad over what Monty said. Are you out of your mind? Go read the comment section from yesterday. You should pay attention. Welcome to the nightmare. 10 million would be a nice round number for each Pac-12 team. It would.
Yeah.
It would. It is.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those numbers where it's like, that's probably top of the mountain, but also like from a publicity standpoint, it's a nice, like, hey, we got 10 mil a year per school.
Yeah, I think 10 million is a huge.
Yeah, and hopefully we can build on that and we can bring value, and our next time around we can bump that up to 11 or 12.
Yep. Salty Virginia Peanuts. The Mountain West has a rock solid case. They will not let it go nor compromise. No need to do so. Yeah, I don't think you would negotiate that deal down. That's my opinion. I don't think there is. Why would you?
Yeah, I just don't. That's kind of my point with the Mountain West is I don't. I just don't see a need for them to compromise on any level. You signed an agreement. You did exactly what the agreement had written into it. Like you poach schools, and now you don't want to pay the fee. The Mountain West has them.
Yeah.
And I just again, and I agree with you. Hey, legal fees always matter, and how much are we willing to put in? But when you have the hammer of, hey, if we go to a judge, you're going to lose. There's no need to compromise. There's no need to cut them a break or do any of that. I would not compromise on any level if I was Mountain West.
Wasikowski paid us $5 to get his comment filtered. What did you say in that comment? Like I go to read your paid comment and it's filtered. What did you? You either said something dumb or you used a bunch of emojis, or knowing you, probably both. Probably both. And Jay McClenahan had his. You guys, I don't know what the filter, what's going on with the filtered comments today, because there is a ton of them.
Yeah.
We're not talking politics today. We're not. That's not what we do. It's so I appreciate all the comments and different show, man. Charles, ESPN loves them some Gonzaga. The night TV slot. Name me a better team out west basketball wise to fill that slot consistently. So you really think that Gonzaga is a team that everybody watches? I would not agree with that. I think that they're a good basketball program for sure, but it's Spokane, Washington.
Yeah, I think Duke is ESPN's sweetheart.
I would agree with that.
I think Cooper Flag and Duke and that whole situation happening there.
I would agree with that.
Is exactly what ESPN wants.
100% I would agree with that. I think if you look at the you look at the hierarchy of basketball in this country, games in Spokane with Gonzaga are not it. It's what if it was what everybody wanted, then why do you not have an ESPN deal? Why are you a regional team? Why are you, if you're everybody's darling, why did you choose the Pac-12 over the Big 12?
How many people even knew Gonzaga was playing Baylor the other night?
I don't think many.
And by the way, if ESPN loves Gonzaga so much, why has the posterization of Mark Few's kid been all over ESPN? Why is the question to Mark Few about, hey, well, your kid and posterize and like Gonzaga's a brand in basketball, but make no mistake about it. Duke's paying the bills. UNC's paying the bills.
Yeah.
Like that's just the reality of the situation.
Plus the Mountain West commissioner is savvy and badass. I'll bet she's pissed. I would think so. And and I know, again, if you go and read our comments section, people get so upset when I say this is business as usual. Poaching teams out of Mountain West, while I understand it, it's business as usual for the Pac-12. It's not, it's what they've always done. And you look at the GCU relationship, and I don't think that it was accidental. That you have the president at GCU talking about how they have a long, or Jerry Colangelo actually said,
yeah,
they've had a long relationship. And I meant to get the sound. That President Mueller at GCU crushed it in this press conference the other night. Like, I'm telling you now, Gloria Nevarez is well liked. She's respected, and she's a savvy business person.
Which matters when you're talking about expansion.
Yeah. The Mountain West has the pack by the fuzzy balls when it comes to the contractual obligations with the poaching fees. I wouldn't back down from having them pay full price. I don't know. Why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you? I don't know why you would. Honestly, I don't know why you would.
And again, this is kind of my point about the Pac-12's plight in life right now. Like, I don't agree, like, morally with poaching teams at other conferences, the way they went about it. But we also can't skip over the fact that that's what you had to do to rebuild your conference.
Yeah.
Like you were never going to go to Gloria Nevarez and have her say, yeah, sure, you go ahead and take our best brands. No problem. Don't pay any, like, that was never going to happen. So you had to do it. So rather than folks, because I think a lot of people think the Pac-12 is like trying to just skip out on all these obligations. They have to try to do this. They don't have a choice but to go this route. So yes, if you're the Mountain West, you're not going to compromise, but we shouldn't be sitting here expecting the Pac-12 to do something different because this is their only path. They don't have a choice.
No, I agree. I totally agree. Because one other point that I think comes up a lot on this show is, can the Pac-12 ever become a power conference again? And I think the answer is no, because so many Pac-12 fans, and yesterday in the comment section again, oh, we're getting those teams out of the AAC. I don't know that you're doing that. And even if you do get Memphis, let's say, because everybody thinks Memphis is the prize.
Right.
Does that make you a power conference?
No.
I don't think it does. And I think that's one of the reasons that Memphis, Tulane, and USF is broken ground on an on-campus stadium now.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they leave the AAC to join the Pac-12? And again, if it's $2 million, they're getting 8 in the AAC, and they would get, let's say they get 10 in the Pac-12. Are you doing that for $2 million? You're going to spend far more than that to be a member of that conference. It just doesn't add up to me.
Yeah.
It does not add up to me. Let's see. Eric says, don't even want to play a soundbite as a peace offering. A peace offering of...
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate, because every accident has a ripple effect. It affects your time, your health, your ability to make money, everything. That's where the advocates can help. Speaking with an attorney is simple and 100% free. We're available 24/7 for your convenience, and we'll take on the claims process so you can rest easy. Because you're not just a client to us, you're a person, and you deserve the best help you can get. You deserve an advocate.
Let's talk about the Pac-12 making big moves in their TV deal. We've been talking about this for several weeks. We told you exclusively on this show, and as was confirmed by the national media, the Pac-12 has been speaking to TV partners. Fox and ESPN notably are back at the table and talking to the Pac-12, who have now made a bombshell announcement yesterday that they have partnered with Octagon to finalize their TV deal and bring it in. And I think this is a huge step forward. Sources in the TV industry yesterday told me that this signals a TV deal for the Pac-12 conference is in fact close. Most people believe that it'll be ESPN and Fox and some other partner to regionalize the Pac-12 TV deal. Could very well be somebody like a CW, but there is no doubt here that the Pac-12 partnering with Octagon in a public forum, making an announcement, doing a press release, that tells you that the Pac-12 TV deal is close. And Jake, I don't think you can spin it. Yesterday was a very big day for the Pac-12.
Absolutely. And I think that, this move clearly signals that the TV deal is close. I think obviously Octagon has a clear track record of helping different business entities get stuff like this done. And I think that the biggest thing for the Pac-12 is just making sure that this TV deal comes in at a reasonable number. Everyone wants to say or has speculated that, hey, maybe the Pac-12 is going to reach and get, 12 or 13 million a year. I just don't see that happening. I think 10 is the number that we're looking at. 10 would be, a nice round number. I think that would be the top of the mountain that someone would be willing to pay you currently, per school per year. Just because of the brands you have and frankly, the brands you don't have anymore. It's not lost on people that you're going from, a power conference to basically trying to create the best G5 conference out there. And the only question that I really have about this Octagon situation is how long does it take them to get the deal done? Is this something where, we're talking about getting this done before the end of the year, and then you can start Q1 of next year going out and trying to get, the AAC schools or whatever, starting that next play, if you will, an expansion. Like, that's what I think the Pac-12 kind of has to look at here. And to me, you partnered with Octagon to go ahead and close the deal, get it done as soon as you can. That way you can go out and talk about, kind of rounding out the conference, because there's definitely still expansion that needs to happen. But there's no doubt that this is a win for the Pac-12. There's forward momentum.
Absolutely.
They're in a great spot. I'm really curious about, timeline. I would think that the goal would be to try to get this done, and finalized and hammered out before the year's over. That way you can start 2025 on kind of a higher, more positive note with going out and getting more schools to add to the league.
Yeah, and I think Octagon has a massive track record. Octagon is an entertainment behemoth. And I think part of this, the importance of this, is perception versus reality. The overwhelming success of the ESPN, Turner, Warner Brothers Discovery Big 12 announcement, I think you had to announce this as soon as possible. And I think that's why the Pac-12 handled this perfectly, because there's no doubt that announcement from the Big 12 had an impact in the offices of the Pac-12. I'm told there was some surprise that deal came together so quickly for the Big 12. That they were able to get an agreement in place with ESPN and Warner Brothers Discovery that essentially boils down to a licensing agreement. between ESPN and the Big 12 to allow ESPN to give their content to Turner at TNT, Warner Brothers Discovery, to put Big 12 basketball and football games on TNT. I think this is the absolute necessary next step. I was talking to several people in TV yesterday who believe the necessary number is $10 million a year. The Pac-12, I think, is likely to get a deal that's at $10 million a year. 12 or 15, I'm with you. I just have talked to too many people that say you just don't have the value to deliver that.
Right.
And I think had they gotten UNLV and the Las Vegas market, which I think was just so critical to survival of the Mountain West, I think then you'd be looking at something more than $10 million. I think the problem for the Pac-12 is you have great football brands that play in small markets, and delivering the value required to get more than $80 million a year is going to be very difficult. And then on top of that, you're going to have a deal that is a quid pro quo. Okay, you do this, I'll do that.
Right.
Right? That's what you're essentially saying to ESPN, to Fox, to the CW, because I think there's no question now that one of the other things that this deal with the Big 12 and ESPN does, it creates a vacuum of football streaming on the ESPN app. Well, I don't think it does, because I think it perfectly aligns with the Pac-12 deal. And they play in very much the same time zones. I was talking again to another guy on TV who's very well positioned in these situations. He said it makes all the sense in the world for ESPN to do business with the Pac-12, especially with brands like San Diego State and Boise State, because that delivers the Pacific time zone for them. It delivers the Mountain time zone for them. And I think it's critically important. I think the next step, once you get that $10 million a year deal, the next step, again, we go back to the AAC. And I cannot find somebody in the AAC or outside of it or in TV or in the know who thinks that the AAC schools are still legitimately in play for the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have commitments from all of these universities to stay in the AAC and to stay in the Mountain West. And I just don't know how you break those agreements, because, again, as we've reported on this show, I am told the agreement in the AAC is binding. The commitment that those universities made to stay is binding. And again, I go back to what Dr. Ed Scott at Memphis said about the Pac-12. I don't know how you get away from the direct, punch in the face that this is from Ed Scott, the AD at Memphis.
If y'all haven't seen the latest reports of what's going on between the Mountain West and the Pac-6, 7 right now, this is a fluid situation, right? So that's the other thing. When we talk about the decision that was made by the University of Memphis to not join the Pac, as I like to call them right now at this time, that was not a binary decision. That was not a, no, we're not ever going anywhere. That was based on the offer that was presented in front of us, that we're not taking that offer because we don't think less of ourselves. And
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
You lowballed Memphis. And, the funny thing is, I was talking to a bro yesterday who said, you guys play that Ed Scott bite a lot. And we did back in the day. Listen to the first 20 seconds of this bite, and who does he talk about here?
If y'all haven't seen the latest reports of what's going on between the Mountain West and the Pac-6, 7 right now, this is a fluid situation, right? So
who did he mention there?
Yeah.
The Mountain West and the Pac-12.
And what have we talked about so much? Hey, you're not getting away from the fact that you raided the Mountain West to get this done.
And
that's
now
just
you're
not
in
lost
court
on
and
people.
in litigation with the Mountain West. I'll be honest with you, we've played that 40 times, maybe 30 times.
Yeah.
It's so relevant. I've never noticed him mention that before.
And, on top of being in court, I think then it's like, hey, you're in court, you're in litigation, you raided the Mountain West. Now you're lowballing us. We're just not interested in.
But how did they get lowballed? Not only did he not say, well, they offered us too little per year. That's not what he said. He said, I don't know if you've seen the latest with the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, And then he said, and the offer wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
Why mention the Pac-12 and the Mountain West and the offer's not enough? Because you don't know that you have access to that money because you're going to have to pay those poaching fees.
Mm-hmm.
And you lowballed them because you wouldn't give them a large enough part of that pie because you don't have that to give to the AAC schools. I had never viewed it in that light. The lowball offer wasn't we're at $7 million a year, or you're going to get $4 million a year. Well, the lowball offer was, we're not giving you any of the jackpot that we realized when the other 10 members of the conference left.
Right.
And why isn't that? Because it's tied up in poaching fees that you're trying to sue to get out of. And again, as I maintain, you're suing to negotiate down.
Which, if we know that, you can be damn sure that he knows that.
And I'll be honest with you, I should have heard him say that. I never paid attention to it until a high-ranking television official yesterday said to me, "You guys play that drop all the time. Have you not noticed him mentioning the Pac-12 and the Mountain West in litigation?" No, I hadn't noticed that.
Maybe it's that Memphis draw. Maybe it's the accent.
And I'm going to play the whole bite. Listen to it and ask yourself. In the first 10 seconds, he mentions the Pac 6 or 7 and the Mountain West. And then what does he say? He essentially says they lowballed us.
If y'all haven't seen the latest reports of what's going on between the Mountain West and the Pac 6, 7 right now, this is a fluid situation, right? So that's the other thing. When we talk about the decision that was made by the University of Memphis to not join the Pac, as I like to call them right now at this time, that was not a binary decision. That was not a no, we're not ever going anywhere. That was based on the offer that was presented in front of us, that we're not taking that offer because we don't think less of ourselves. And I came here for a reason. You heard me in the press conference. You've heard me in any interview I've done. I'm bullish on Memphis's future. And so I think sometimes we get enamored by the new and we want to take a bad deal. And that deal was not a good deal for the University of Memphis. It certainly wasn't a good deal for our athletic department. And most importantly, it was a really, really bad deal for our Olympic sports.
I think that's exactly right.
I mean, that might be, dude deserves a lot of credit for saying what he needed to say, but saying it in a way that wasn't.
He said the quiet part out loud without saying the quiet part.
And it just, I mean, I can't emphasize enough how much that flew under the radar, man. Like, and maybe we just missed that, but I didn't see a lot of people talking about that at all.
I think it is wild to me.
Like, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it is wild to me that you have a group of universities that are so good in football. Yeah. And I don't think any of us question that the Pac-12 is a strong football league, right? But they're not good at business, which is why they brought in Octagon.
Yeah.
I think it's a game changer. And I know you guys will say, well, we've never heard of Octagon, Marty. I'm telling you, Octagon's a power player. It's no different than Endeavor. Octagon and Endeavor are competitors, and they're both damn good at what they do. Mm-hmm. I think this signals that Octagon and the Pac-12 and the TV partners are ready to put pen to paper and make a deal. I think I was told yesterday that, again, it's going to be very difficult for them to achieve something more than $80 million a year, which is $10 million per school. And there's real concern from TV sources that I spoke to about this Pac-12 conference as a basketball conference. And I think all of that adds up to, I think ESPN's a great partner for the Pac-12 because it gives them a later window and it replenishes their Big 12 inventory. I think it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Octagon is so publicly involved now, because I think the deal's close.
Yeah.
At least that's what I was told by sources yesterday. And then you add this Ed Scott thing into it. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch this litigation. And does the Pac-12 go back after the AAC members?
And how does the litigation change once the TV deal is done? How does that change, how the Pac-12, views the litigation and what they want out of the litigation? Yeah. And, once you have a TV deal, does your willingness go up to pay the poaching fee? Do you just want to settle that and be done with that and kind of allow everyone to move forward? Or you know what I mean? So I just think there's a lot of questions about philosophy and like how leadership in the Pac-12, the Scott Barneses of the world, Teresa Gould, like how these folks are looking at the situation, because you can't stay in litigation forever, man. You can't, like, your conference needs to be that profitability number, not revenue, but profitability is going to decide if this conference is going to be able to survive long term. And that's huge.
And funny enough, one of my TV guys is listening to us talk about this right now, and he sent me this story about Comcast. I don't know how many people saw this. Comcast spins off MSNBC, CNBC, and USA as part of a new entity that they will create. Those three members make $7 billion a year in revenue, while Bravo, Peacock, and NBC Broadcast Network and its parties will remain with the parent company. So in the world of streaming, you're like, well, why do we give a crap about Bravo? Well, because if you look at what Bravo, NBC, and Peacock represent, what is that? That is the power streaming arm of NBC. And NBC has made one thing very clear with their streaming platform. We're going after sports. So I think we continue to see the TV game evolve, right? We continue to
follow the money,
restructure our business models. I don't know, like DirecTV. What has DirecTV done? DirecTV has pivoted from, hey, I need you to put a dish on the side of your house, to, hey, look at our streaming service that is available on all your mobile devices and television.
Finally.
And you look at ESPN's pivot 5 years ago. What are they going to do next fall? They're going to roll out direct to consumer. You don't ever have to have cable again. So you look at the way these major money makers and revenue generators that pay college conferences like the Pac-12 are operating. They are spinning all of this stuff into, we're creating streaming behemoths that make a lot of money so that we can have the best sports in the business. Because that's really what this is about. And Google the other day, I don't know how many people saw the other week, rather, restructuring their streaming priorities for YouTube TV so that you can now get every major sports package, MLB Home Plate, Sunday Ticket, NBA League Pass, NHL Center Ice, all of it will be available on YouTube TV. Everybody's all in on sports. Why do you think Netflix did the Tyson fight the other night?
100 million views.
A wild amount of people watched that fight.
Well, tried to watch that fight.
Thank you.
Tried to watch that fight.
Yeah,
I mean, it's,
This is all of this to say the Pac-12 is in the exact right position here. I think finally we can say, and I know it's crazy, finally we can say the Pac-12 is doing it the right way. Because if they had continued, and from what I understand, what they did is they had their executive committee talking to Fox, ESPN, different TV outlets, different TV entities.
Yeah.
And I think the message was clear. We're not going to get the deal we want. Let's bring this thing home. Let's go to Octagon. Because
let's stop asking for $1 million when we're worth, $50. Like, let's get it back in alignment.
Because if you go back, let's rewind the clocks.
Yeah.
If you go back to when the Big 12 got their TV deal, who got that TV deal done? The Big 12, their executive committee, and other parties, right? So now you're looking at Bowlesby handing it over to Brett Yormark, and Brett Yormark has only grown their media footprint. And who are they partnered with? They're partnered with Endeavor.
Yeah.
So you look at the Pac-12, and this is one thing that gives me hope about the Pac-12, because up until yesterday, it had been business as usual. George Kliavkoff's putting the hammer down. Business as usual. Until yesterday when they brought in Octagon. You cannot continue to do the same thing and expect a different result.
We're getting somewhere.
If you want a different result, you got to do something different. And that was going to Octagon. And I think it is exactly the right move. They're doing the right things.
Yeah.
And they are lined out now to get a TV deal. If you do this, we'll pay that.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have to go and get, I think probably you need to be at a minimum of 10 members.
Yeah. Because what are they at right now? 9, right? 9.
No. I think they're at, I'm not going to speak out of turn. Because I think they're at 9 members.
Yeah, I believe they're at 9 members.
I am pretty certain. Pac-12 I think that's the next thing.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that
that's
you
why
have
this is so important.
you have to get more membership. And I think it is really important that you figure out how to do that. The Pac-12 is Boise, Colorado State, Fresno State, Gonzaga, not football, Oregon State, San Diego State, Utah State, and Washington State. So it is 7 with Gonzaga as a basketball only.
So
you
get the deal
need
done.
you need at least, I think you need at least 3 more football members.
Full share.
Football members.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, to be a conference, you got to have 8 full share members.
But
I
to
would assume
thrive, I would agree. I think you probably
you
need 3
need
more.
10 full share football members.
Yeah.
And I think you need to add a St. Mary's, or that's why the Grand Canyon thing, I know Pac-12 people got all pissed when I said that. That's why the Pac-12 thing mattered.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely mattered. All right, let's get some of your comments in here. Again with Calford. My guy. Unbelievable.
Bro.
Calford gifts 10 more Monty Show memberships. Wow. Let's go.
You don't
Absolutely
have a membership
love
at this
that.
point. I don't know what you're
Yeah,
doing.
if you don't have a membership at this point, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. Arn Kriegbaum doesn't have a membership. Pac-12 should go after North Dakota State and Sac State. Think future and not past. I think Sacramento State would be an excellent addition. The money that they have and the facilities that are coming online.
Yeah.
I think you got to do it. You have to do it. San Diego State, Glenn. The pro rata the Monty Show deserves.
Yeah.
Okay. FCS schools moving to an FBS division have 2-year transition period before officially becoming a member, and it's not cheap. What is it? $5 million at a minimum.
Yeah.
That's just the fee. And then you've got to build infrastructure, which Sac State has. You've got to build infrastructure in facilities, human costs. Like, it's why Vivek Ranadive, the owner of the Kings, saying, hey, Sac State can play basketball at Golden One Center. That's why that's a big deal. Now, would you like it to be on campus? Yes. But downtown Sacramento is not a bad place to play a hoop game. And it's a lovely building. And their football facilities will be, but I think it's awfully difficult. It's awfully difficult now, especially with these letters going out with NIL contracts and guaranteed wages for athletes now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how an FCF school is going to, I mean, dude, it's $1 billion essentially that you're going to spend to play FBS football. I mean, you look at what Sac State's going to do. You got to be at least half a billion, 500 million.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, man. Do the Dakota schools want that? I highly doubt it. Where does it even come from?
Boosters. That's where it comes from.
But if you're North Dakota, South Dakota, do you have those kind of boosters? At a minimum, $500 million? That's a lot of bread, dude.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose a lot of games. How many games you lose? A lot.
A lot.
It's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. It is
a lot.
It is without question. Is it possible? Absolutely. Is it likely?
No.
I don't think so. I could be wrong. Jay McClanahan. Can the Pac-12 teams afford the House lawsuits money owed next year?
Yeah, it's a big question.
Boise can. San Diego State. Fresno State's a poverty program. That's a state school. That's a real question. What?
You just so casually roll out poverty program, bro.
Duck season.
Program.
Duck season. Crawling up the orifice, duck season.
Well, Washington State poverty program, man.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Shouty. Good to see you. Damian Fowler, did you see the North Dakota State is getting interest from the Mountain West? Or am I wrong? No, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Brandon Bootlair. Hey.
Great job, dude.
Huge win for
Hell
the
of a
Jazz
job.
last night with that loss.
Hell of a job.
You guys. The Utah Jazz, every Utah Jazz fan, have you ordered your Dalton Connect jersey? You saved your season last night. Like, have you ordered the Dalton Connect jersey yet? Utah Jazz fans. Dalton Connect, the Laker dropping about 9 threes last 9 and 12 from
Pause, bro. Pause.
what? He saved your season.
This man was a bona fide scrub.
Dalton Connect saved your season last night. That was a huge win. With that loss to the Jazz, to the Lakers, that was a huge win for the Jazz. Brandon Butler.
Doesn't make you feel responsible.
I've had a couple of days of red assery. I got to be honest with you. I'm ready.
Well,
I'm in
you're
Hawaii
short-timer
already.
syndrome, bro.
I'm in Hawaii
Yeah.
already. I got to be honest. And all this nonsense about, oh, Monty, look at, well, they need Rudy to get on the field. Shut up.
Well, they can call Manti Te'o's girlfriend, man. She'll contribute. You know?
She's dead like Notre Dame's offense.
Yeah.
Like, you guys, like, coming in here and being jackassery about Notre Dame, you know.
Stay hard.
And only Oak State James, the pedophile
Monty,
priest researcher, that's the only guy.
Manti Te'o's in the IPF, so if you want to go and get him and bring him back, you're more than welcome to.
With all the fracking money in the Dakotas, they can easily get.
Okay. Just had to pull up with the fracking take, didn't you?
Oh, so good. So good. Austin Hoover. I live in Notre Dame. We have a lot of money here. Or Notre. Oh, hi.
Hi,
a little upset.
Notre Dame.
Stay home.
At Notre Dame.
There's a little
and
trauma there.
Do you live under the Golden Dome?
You know.
Are you snuggling up to touchdown? Jesus.
I
believe you mean North Dakota. I live in Salt Lake City. I get it. I live in North Dakota. We have a lot of money here. I know you do, but do you have $500,000 laying around just to do you guys understand that $500,000 is just so you can kick a football? That doesn't buy you a football. You can probably borrow a football. You know how much dude, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Texas got old money. Who are you? J.R. Ewing?
You know.
That's a Dallas dude. Okay. Arn, Monty is correct. Fresno has no serious corporate money. They have corporate sense. Yes, they do.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Because every accident has a ripple effect. It affects your time, your health, your ability to make money, everything. That's where the advocates can help. Speaking with an attorney is simple and 100% free. We're available 24/7 for your convenience, and we'll take on the claims process so you can rest easy. Because you're not just a client to us, you're a person, and you deserve the best help you can get. You deserve an advocate.
I go back to this Pac-12 versus Mountain West. Hey, we're going to play for a championship. And I ask you, like, if you look at where the Pac-12 is going to go here, like, look at Pac-12 expansion. And this story yesterday, I believe Brett McMurphy had it. NIU doesn't want to join the Mountain West right now. Now, from what I've heard repeatedly, NIU hasn't said yes to the Mountain West because there's future uncertainty. They're fighting a legal battle with the Pac-12 right now. They've expanded, so they're solidified, and it is widely believed that they have a future TV deal in place already, the Mountain West. But I think what NIU's looking at is we're going to have to travel more. And the single biggest question is, do we have a seat at the college football playoff table? If we join the Mountain West, are our percentages better to get to the college football playoff? Certainly. If we win the Mountain West, are we assured a spot in the college football playoff? You're not. You're not. And it's singularly why UNLV did not go to the Pac-12. They got more money to stay in the Mountain West, and it's not a lock that you're going to, if you win that league in football, that you're going to go to the college football playoff.
Yeah, and this is my struggle with this NIU angle. Like, if I'm at NIU, to me, it's a silly argument to make. Well, we wouldn't want to join the Pac-12 or the Mountain West because we don't have a guaranteed seat at the college football playoff table. Well, you don't have one now. Like, I understand you're going to incur more cost traveling, but you're more than happy to go and play Notre Dame right down the street. You're more than happy to take your small regional jet. But at some point, you're going to have to step up and leave the MAC. Like at some point, you're going to have to commit.
Nobody in the MAC has an opportunity to play for the championship of college football.
So when you say, yeah, we're saying no to the Mountain West because we don't have a guaranteed seat at the table, again, respectfully, you're making yourself look like a fool because you don't have a seat now.
But I also think Sac State's a big part of this because Super League opting out, how much money are we talking about? Sac State is no different than SMU. And why is that? As I am told, Sac State already has a war chest. They already have the money. They don't need to, well, can we afford it? Yeah, they can afford it. They have the money.
Yeah.
They have it. To jump from FCS to FBS is a significant cost. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Their facilities are already in line. Now, is it great, as I talked about yesterday, playing at Golden One Center? It's not. You'd much rather have an on-campus basketball facility. That's not the case in Sacramento. They do not have a proper FBS level, facility footprint right now. Basketball or football, but they're changing that in football. And they have the opportunity to play at Golden One Center in downtown Sacramento. So if that's the option that they take, Sac State is ready. There's a lot of people who are out there who just don't understand the ecosystem in Sacramento. I am fortunate to have lived there. I am fortunate to have contacts there. I am told that Sacramento State has the financial wherewithal because they've raised a significant amount of money. They have donors and boosters that support that program, and they're winning football games. So they have the financial wherewithal to compete at the FBS level. Now, what about North Dakota State? Because I think that's who's next in the Mountain West. Do they have the facilities? Do they have the money? We're going to find out.
Yeah.
Because Gloria Navarez is not going to sit around and hope and wait. And interestingly enough, she's using Brett Yormark's model of, well, who in this conference can go and make a phone call, back channel me at North Dakota State, at UTEP, she's leveraging her relationships. They're not sitting still. But if we're having a football conversation, this question right here, who's better positioned to make the college football playoff? The Pac-12 or the Mountain West? It's not close that it's the Pac-12. When you have the football brands that now the Pac-12 has, if they win this lawsuit, if they don't, I think, what is it, $55 million? Let's just pretend it goes to a judge and somehow they win that lawsuit, which they will not. Now, for sure, you're in the driver's seat. But I think that's very unlikely that they will win that lawsuit. I still can't find anybody to tell me they have a leg to stand on the Pac-12. Their argument in the comment section, I love all the lawyers who come out in the comment section who know nothing about the law. The phrase non-liquidated damages or non-liquefied damage. Do you guys understand? That's not a real phrase. That's not a legal term. The argument in the Pac-12 and what the Pac-12 is suing the Mountain West over is interference in interstate commerce, antitrust. They're saying that their argument essentially is you having these $10 million poaching fees is punitive. It's too much of a penalty, and it interferes with our ability to compete with everybody else to win college football games and add new members. They're saying that the Mountain West, by inflicting $10 million per school in damages, in penalties for poaching, is limiting their ability to add new universities and compete at the highest levels of college football. And that's why they want a judge to say, nope, you don't have to pay those. Which, good luck, because you signed a contract. And there's a reason they negotiated these poaching penalties, and the Pac-12 agreed to them.
Yeah.
So, but if we're having a straight up football conversation, who is or who's positioned better to compete for a college football playoff spot, there's no question it's the Pac-12 2 years down the road, because look at where Boise State is now.
Yeah, I think, the other part of that too, though, is that, like, I agree with that, but either way, you don't have a guaranteed spot at the table. You're assuming that every year Boise State's going to be the highest ranked G5, and that's just not the case every year. With all due respect to them, they're having a good year this year, and that's great. But again, let's say that Boise State makes the college football playoff this year. That money doesn't go to the Pac-12. That money is going to the Mountain West. So,
Yeah.
I don't disagree with the sentiment that moving forward, the Pac-12 has better football brands, and because of that, the odds of them being able to make the playoff are better. But if you're NIU, which is this genesis of this conversation,
Excuse me, it's the Northern Illinois Huskies of DeKalb.
yeah, the Saluki Husky.
No, it's the Salukis are Southern Illinois.
Sorry,
Carbondale.
My bad. Sorry, my bad.
And with all due respect,
I just, for NIU to be like, yeah, we're not joining the Mountain West because we don't have a guaranteed seat at the college football playoff table. It's one of the silliest arguments that I've ever heard.
I would be cautious as well. If I were Northern Illinois, I'd be cautious as well. Okay. 52 minutes of me bloviating and talking probably far too much leads us to the comment section on this show, which is always presented by our good friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy app in the business. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5 in a new Prize Pick account. You get 50 more instantly.
Do we need the sad music or
no?
You won.
Hey, take it easy. I never lose on Prize Picks ever. You deposit $5, they'll give you $50 more dollars instantly. Prize Picks, download the app, open a new account. Today I would like to shout out my guy, the best player in the history of all things historic.
shout to Mobamba.
And that'd be Steph Curry. He pushed last night.
What, he pushed?
The number was 4 3-pointers.
Uh-huh.
And so I took more. He hit 4. So it was a push. It was a gray. But thankfully, my guy, Jason Tatum, he had a 29.5-point number, which is huge. He scored 32 points. It's my dude. I thought he was going to go off on Steve Kerr last night.
Yeah, we're talking about NBA minutes, not Olympic minutes. So,
So he went off on.
I think I've hit it every time.
I actually thought he would do better than that. He did not. And then there is LeBron James. LeBum, LeCap, you jerk.
LeBrick, LeDad.
He wasn't LeBrick last night. He had a 38.5-point number, points, rebounds, and assists.
Did the flag bearer James come through?
Why are you a hater?
Did LeGM show up for you?
He did. 52 points, rebounds, and assists. My guy. Now, unfortunately, I won $5 because Steph couldn't make one more.
Come on, Steph.
I put 20 on a 3-pick flex. So I won 25. So I put out 20. I got 25. I netted $5.
See, but that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do.
That's it.
Like on your bad nights, if you can just win $5 on a 2 or 3, you're fine.
If Steph had hit, and again, I think that's the beauty of daily fantasy. You're one away. You're one away. Now, tonight, I think this is a lot easier tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Zay Flowers, 61.5 yards receiving. Yeah, we're going more on Zay Flowers for sure. Derrick Henry for a touchdown. We're going more.
A tutty.
Oh, I'm sorry. King Henry for a touchdown because I am not a nymph millennial.
A beta.
Thank you. I am no beta male, sir. It is not tutty, you beta.
If you felt these balls,
is beta male one of the stupidest things you've ever? You're such a beta, bro. Shut up. And I very much like Justin Tucker. I'm all Ravens tonight. I think they're the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, I took King Henry and a demon for 124.5 rushing yards.
That's not happening.
I took Joe Burrow for 267.5 passing yards. And and that was less, by the way. And I took Evan McPherson for 2 field goals made on a demon.
Okay. Oh man, I forgot you can't do all 3. You can't do all 3 Ravens. I forgot about that. Okay. Zay Flowers for sure. What King Henry line are we going to take? Derrick Henry for only 1 touchdown is a goblin.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little hesitant to do that. Let's change it up and go Derrick Henry 1.5 rush receiving touchdowns on a demon.
I like it.
Let's keeps in it real.
Keeps in it real.
That, or do you go Lamar Jackson rush receiving touchdown?
No, I'd probably go. I'm in on Derrick Henry, like I said.
Okay.
I took the demon on him, so.
All right. And then I guess you go Jamar Chase. No. How about Joe Burrow? 3 touchdowns? Not on that defense, dude.
No. That's why I took less on his passing yard number, because I think it's going to be tough to be, have a huge night.
I think I also like, you guys, the numbers in this game are redonkulous. Boy, that's tough, dude. I think Joe Burrow on a demon is 299.5 yards.
No way. No.
No chance.
No chance.
No way does that. No, I just don't see any
Hell
way.
no.
Hell no. Let's go with an NBA pick then. Giannis's mom.
Hell no.
Okay, we'll move on. Anthony Edwards. I'm going Ant more than 36.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
There you go.
So my flex play tonight, Zay Flowers, 61.5 yards. Derrick Henry at 2 touchdowns. Anthony Edwards, more than 36.5 points, rebounds, and assists. We're going 20 to win a hundy. There you go.
There you go, bro.
There you go. You're welcome, you guys. I'm making you money, man.
Okay, now can we really quick? Can we not mess it up in the comments section today?
That's not going to happen.
Can we have a little bit better of a performance today? Yesterday it was a bit of a struggle.
I don't think so.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Because every accident has a ripple effect. It affects your time, your health, your ability to make money, everything. That's where the advocates can help. Speaking with an attorney is simple and 100% free. We're available 24/7 for your convenience, and we'll take on the claims process so you can rest easy. Because you're not just a client to us, you're a person, and you deserve the best help you can get. You deserve an advocate.
The toughest part about this expansion question continues to be where does the Pac-12 go? Because with the news overnight, that again, if you've listened to the show or watched the show for any amount of time, we told you several weeks ago that Hawaii was the most likely 8th full member of the Mountain West. And what did we tell you was the number one issue for Hawaii in joining the Mountain West? They did not want to pay for other people to travel to Hawaii to play not just football, because I don't know how many people know this, and we've talked about this on the show. Hawaii pays travel a stipend. They pay a percentage of the travel for the teams who come to Hawaii to compete in all of their sports, because it is expensive to fly from Boise, Idaho to Honolulu. It's expensive. So Hawaii offers a travel stipend to those teams that come to them. Well, as part of their agreement to join the Mountain West as a full share partner, meaning every sport, they no longer have to pay travel stipends to Mountain West members to come to Hawaii. So obviously this is a win for Hawaii. They now can take all of their sports, have them in one conference in the Mountain West, and they don't have to pay anybody from any conference to come to Oahu to play. This is a win for Hawaii across the board, but it's also, in my opinion, a win for the Mountain West across the board, because the Mountain West had to get to that 8th team. It applies significant pressure to the Pac-12, who is currently trying to get an agreement in principle for their media rights. And as we told you last week, we are hearing significant movement is being made in that direction by the Pac-12, but they are not going to be able to put pen to paper and finalize a TV deal before they go and add membership. So for the Pac-12, they're in this really awkward position of the chicken or the egg, right? Do we add members in hopes of getting a TV deal, or do we try and get the framework of a TV deal in hopes of adding membership? It's really a difficult position for the Pac-12 to be in. And when we talk about Pac-12 expansion, it is the only question. Can you get new membership without a TV deal in place? And can you get a TV deal without new members in place? It is really a very, I don't know if impossible is the right word, but it is a very difficult proposition to navigate if you are the Pac-12. And what now just happened with the Mountain West makes that even more difficult, because it takes a lot of the pressure that was on the Mountain West. It lifts that pressure now. And now they are in, how do we get to 10 members, 10 full members, before the Pac-12 can even get to 8, 9, 10. So, Jake, it feels like to me that this is a win across the board for the Mountain West.
Absolutely. I think the Mountain West has always been, in a great position to find their way back. And I think that, moving forward, now that you have 8 full share members, you're going to look to add 2 more football onlys to get to 10 members, if you will, and to find that balance in scheduling. And I think once you do that, you're golden. And I think that, with all due respect to Pac-12 fan, like, you wanted to tell us that the Mountain West is nowhere near as good as the Pac-12 and they're terrible and nobody cares about all these brands you're adding and they're awful. And I'm just going to keep saying it, man. The conversation isn't whether the Mountain West is better than you or worse than you. The conversation is, are you actually going to have a conference? Because without a proper media rights deal, it's going to be really hard to add anybody. And on top of that, I look at this for the Mountain West, and this takes all the drama out of that conference. Everybody can rest easy. They can feel that sense of relief that the conference is going to move forward, that we're in a good place, that we're progressing forward, and we can operate again. We're not having to ask the question, is the conference viable? Is the conference going to burn down, or is it going to work? And so I think we can't undersell the value of that, because the Pac-12 is still right in the middle of that. You're still right in the middle of, hey, are we going to be able to make it? Are we going to get a reasonable TV deal? Like, are we, that to me is a huge difference in the two situations. And I just think if you're in the Pac-12, or if you're one of our listeners, viewers, who is a hardcore Pac-12 supporter, you need to stop talking about the Mountain West now, because not only did they beat you to getting back to full viability, they're just in a different place now. They've already got a TV deal done. They've already got everything moving. They're past this sort of line in the sand of legitimacy. They're now on to just putting schedules together and stuff. You still have to get past that. Hey, we've got 8 full share members. We've got a TV deal. We're ready to go. And I think that's what people need to be focused on now.
Well, and I also think this gives the Mountain West the pathway that we've talked about. Because now you can go to NIU in Toledo and say, hey, come play football in our conference. Because they've got 8 full share members. They've got all kinds of flexibility. And I think NIU in Toledo is exactly where I would be going if I were the Mountain West. I think it makes all the sense in the world. It, without question, helps your league in a football perspective, which is what matters. Because don't forget, they just signed a huge new TV deal in the Mountain West. You have 8 full share members that start in 2026. Now you can go to NIU in Toledo and say, hey, come be on national TV in the Mountain West. Give yourself an opportunity to play for a spot in the college football playoff. And let's all go about our business of growing financially and in relevance. And let's become one of the best G5 conferences. That pathway is now clear and obvious, in my opinion, because I don't even know that there is, with UTEP in the conference, where else would you go here? I think you're going to NIU, and I think you're going to Toledo. And I know that everybody, again, crushed us when I said it a couple of weeks ago. I don't want Toledo baseball. I don't want NIU field hockey.
Right.
I want NIU and Toledo football. And if I were If I were the Mountain West, I would offer NIU in Toledo, which I am told they have had extensive conversations about being football-only members. That's where I would go. That's what I would do. And if they do that, I think they are in a significantly better place than the Pac-12 is. And I think the Pac-12 has the opportunity, if they somehow can get a TV deal, and let's say it is the CW and Amazon Prime Sports, which we have heard repeatedly, if that is in fact the place that they go, and if those two entities will agree to make a deal without members in place, now you can go and you can compete with the AAC for their TV deal.
Right.
Now you can go to the Memphises of the world, who, again, Dr. Ed Scott, their athletic director, what did he say? He essentially said they lowballed us.
Yeah, it's a bad deal.
You can go back to Memphis and say, but we're putting you on Amazon Prime Sports and you're going to be on the CW. So Jimmy, the 3-star quarterback, who wants to make sure that his mom and his grandma can watch him on TV back in Florida instead of going to Memphis. Okay, well, your mom's an Amazon Prime member. Hey, the CW has an affiliate in 7 different cities in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can make the argument.
Yeah, and I think part of that conversation too, from Memphis's side, based on the Dr. Scott, comment, was that, hey, the total valuation of the deal we were being offered wasn't enough. Not just like, hey, like, is it Amazon and CW, or like, what are the distribution partners, but also, does it give us enough money to afford the travel for Olympic sports? And because he was very bullish on that, like very adamant, like, hey, it was a bad deal for our Olympic sports. And so I think that's the other part of it for the AAC members, is it's got to make, it has to be good enough financially for them to justify it. It's not just the Amazon portion, but I do agree that the Amazon portion for recruits is highly effective. To be able to say that, and be able to sell someone on the fact that no matter where their family is, they can watch. I think that's a phenomenal talking point. But I will believe it when I see it, that the Pac-12 is able to get a TV deal north of, 10, 11 mil a year per school. I need to see that in writing.
I don't know how that happens.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens. And again, I go back because every Pac-12 person in our comment section, I encourage you to go and read it. They're all on this bandwagon of, we'll get the AAC. We'll get the AAC. And as we've reported exclusively on this show, every AAC member signed a letter of understanding, an agreement that is binding, keeping them in the AAC. And if that letter is binding, which means it is essentially an enforceable contract,
right,
that says we are committing to the AAC for 2026 and beyond, who's willing to go to court and say, I want to get out of the AAC? Here's the letter I signed a month ago. Who's willing to go to court to fight that? And who's willing to pay the money to the attorneys and then the exit fees it's going to require to leave the AAC?
And again, on top of that, I also think as part of that decision, the willingness, because you have to go through that, who has the willingness to want to embrace the fact that you're traveling so much more? Like, I think that's the other hard part, is like, I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe that these people, these administrators of these schools, sit around the table, talk about, damn, dude, like, a potential schedule would have us going out to the West Coast like 5-6 times. Like, yeah, we can make it work financially, but do we want to really embrace that? Is that what we want Memphis athletics to be known for? Like, is it like, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you have this piece where someone going to Memphis, like their grandma is going to be able to watch on Amazon Prime potentially if that were to happen. But are you going to go to Memphis knowing that that's your travel? Or would you rather go to a school up and down the East Coast where maybe the travel isn't as much and you can go home more often or whatever? Like, I just think that there's a lot of like opinion and emotion and feeling in it that is hard to quantify.
For how much money?
Yeah, for how much money? Exactly. So if it's only 10 or 11, Like,
I
that's
don't
a
think
nice
you're.
number,
I
but
think you're going to be thrilled if you get 10 million per school. If you get 100 million a year, that would be remarkable. And I don't know how, if you're the Pac-12, you're going to pull that.
And I just don't know. I would agree. And I just don't know how 10 or 11, 10 mil, 100 million makes that worth it for a Memphis or, Tulane, or whoever.
Because it does not put you in a position to compete for the college football playoff.
Right.
That's the other part that you have to kind of come to terms with. And you wonder, what is the upside of joining that league? And right now, you're just sitting and waiting for their TV deal and their revenue, because that's the only thing that's gonna move the needle anywhere. Is, am I going to make more money, and are my students going to be healthier and more well provided for? Because you look at this letter, and I know that you guys don't want to hear this. I totally understand it, because you guys lose your mind every time I talk about this.
Right.
If you're a G5 school, can you afford to compete with Texas? Because look at this letter, and I'm calling it an SOS email. Chris Del Conte, the athletic director at Texas, sent out an email where he detailed the upcoming changes. NIL remunerations, paybacks. Institutions will be permitted to directly remunerate student athletes for use of their name, image, and likeness. For institutional purposes, up to the projected annual amount of $22 to $23 million. Okay.
So right there, we've got it in writing. That's the number.
As we've reported on the show, you're looking, and let's just go $23 million. If that were the only amount that you had to kick in, can Fresno State, Boise State, Memphis, South Florida, any G5 team,
San Diego State,
NIU, Toledo, UTEP, can any of them be like, yeah, let's kick in another $23 million to football, to basketball? Okay. Roster limits and scholarships. NCAA rules no longer will designate sport-by-sport scholarship limits. That means that you will not only pay athletes more money, like cutting them a check.
Yeah.
Now you're going to have to give out more scholarships. Oh, do tell. Is that not the only amount of those? Wait, there's more? Oh, that's right. The back payments. The NCAA Division I student athlete will compete from 26 to 21 and did not have, or 2016 to 2021 and did not have NIL ability due to previous rules. For NIL back damages, the NCAA national office is set to pay nearly $3 billion.
But Monty, I thought the NCAA was its own body.
Well, somebody forgot to tell everyone across the country, apparently, that the NCAA is made up of its members, like Texas and all the G5s. Look at that bottom line. Texas athletics will receive an ongoing reduction in NCAA annual revenue of approximately $1.5 million per year for the next 10 years to cover our portion of these damages. That's interesting.
So wait, I just want to make sure I'm hearing this right for all the people in the back. The amount of money you're getting is going down, but your costs are going way up. Just want to make sure we're on the same page here.
So not only are you going to revenue share to $23 million, look at that last number. And you guys all told me I didn't know what I was talking about. When I told you just the new fees are going to push you close to $50 million extra and just to compete.
Better send those refunds.
The anticipated annual new NIL and scholarship benefits available to student athletes are expected to rise on a year-to-year basis, with the potential cost for additional scholarships estimated at $11.5 million. So $15 million, $11.5 million. So if you take the $15 million on a yearly Amortized number. So $11.5 million and $1.5 million is $13 million. If you take that and add it to the $23 million, you're at $36 million. And that's just money that you are now having to put out in addition. And I'd remind you that $1.5 million is a reduction in disbursement. You're getting $1.5 million less. And that's going to come out of your basketball distributions. How you like that, San Diego State? So the NCAA is going to distribute $1.5 million less, and they're going to take it out of your tournament shares.
So when everyone said, "Hey, you guys are idiots. You don't know what you're talking about with the Big 12."
Why would Gonzaga
own division?
Why would Gonzaga not join the Big 12, Marty?
Oh, I know why. Because Gonzaga doesn't play football, so they're paying all of this out of basketball, which means they need to win every single year, and they need to be in the tournament every single year. And ideally, they'd win like 2, 3, 4 games in the tournament every single year.
So you have this $36 million number. And now you're looking at, I know, the COVID-19 dark period. Because look at how Chris Del Conte just kind of tosses in the pandemic.
Right.
Texas athletics, to maintain its status as a gold standard bearer within NCAA athletics, similar to what we did during COVID-19 pandemic, where we asked you for a bunch of money.
The coronavirus.
Along the way, the Longhorn Foundation will strive to set fundraising and membership milestones in our continued effort towards positively impacting the lives of UT student athletes.
Okay, so let's translate that into common man verbiage. Hey, we're gonna put out a new number in the coming days.
Yep.
Of what we have to have from a donation standpoint to maintain our stature in collegiate athletics. So, hey, we've got our sponsorship dollars, ticket sales. We've got all these things that are making us money inside the football program.
Mm-hmm.
But then that money there is not going to be enough to cover the gap. So now your donations in combination with this will put the pie together. So that donation piece is going to go up.
So if you're the G5, if you're Hawaii, and you've got to up your scholarship limits, you're going to travel more, and you're going to travel to further destinations. So your travel cost is going up. You've got to add this $36 million. You've got to add the human infrastructure. You've got to add all of this money. It's pushing $50 million a year just to take a snap.
Mm-hmm.
That's not hot dogs. That's not more malasadas you got to make and bake and sell at home games.
Yeah.
That's just $50 million to say, I don't know. Yeah, do we want to compete? That's $50 million. And then you add human cost, and then you add books, and then you add iPads, and then you add new equipment, and then you add one of the main costs, travel infrastructure. Because you got to have more buses. And you've got to have, if you are Hawaii, you can't truck your football equipment like everybody else does. You have to. So can Hawaii really compete in a power level?
Nope.
If the Super League happens, which it will. So when I ask you and I say, hey, can Boise State really compete with, forget Ohio State, can they compete with Texas? And the answer is no, they cannot. So in the eyes of what is the Mountain West doing and what is the Pac-12 doing, what I can tell you they're not doing is competing for national championships in football in the college football playoff. Because how many of their members can afford that?
Yeah, none.
And then I go back to, well, is Sac State really an option? Can Sacramento State right now push in $50 million more annually and then build new facilities and training table money? It's impossible. It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's not possible. And I feel like this email And I know I've said this a lot. This note from Chris Del Conte to his guys cutting him checks, his donors, his supporters. This is the canary in the coal mine if you're the G5.
Yeah, because,
this is the shot over the bow.
That email, if you cut through all the numbers and everything, is essentially just a plea for go find more donors. Go find more money. We're going to need it.
That's all this is. And you look at the numbers. I mean, we're looking at just a baseline, in my opinion, of $50 million.
Yeah.
And it is scary as hell.
So when we talk about private money, that's where private money comes in. That's where, hey,
man,
this settlement necessitates and expedites the Super League. And that's why, again, I guess we're doing the I told you so segment, but that's why, when people were like, oh, the Super League's dead, no, it wasn't ever going to be dead, because the Super League the Super League wasn't born just because people thought it was cool.
No.
The Super League was born out of necessity for more money to come in so these schools can pay their rent, essentially. And that's what people don't want to talk about. People want to sit here and be like, oh, well, I'm a Texas fan. I'm a V fan. I'm a Bama fan, Georgia fan. I'm a big boy college football program fan. We'll be fine. And it's like, no, dude, actually, you won't be fine. Like, the biggest of the big are having to ask donors for more money and are having to figure out, hey, how can we essentially double our revenue to make it feel like it does now? Because that's what this is. You're the best of the best here are going to essentially double their revenue and make it so that they make these fees and these, like, again, their rent, if you will, they make that cost feel smaller because they're making so much more. That's what this game is about. It's not about, hey, are we going to struggle to pay this stuff? No, they're not going to struggle because they're going to push the boundary so much with how much revenue they're going to bring into this thing.
Yes.
That I think the only question they're going to have is, hey, okay, we got all this money. How much do we get to keep?
And I just want to put this up here for you. This is Texas's finances. This is their total operating revenue by sport. Let that sink in Boise. Let this sink in any other G5 university. And if you want to pick one, I mean, knock yourself out and pick one. So if you want to go to, I don't know, like NIU is one that obviously comes to mind. Let's talk about NIU versus Texas. And can NIU, do you really believe that NIU, where you have football in 2023, their total operating revenue of $182 million
at Texas,
do you believe that NIU can compete with Texas when they're at $2,700,000? And Texas is out asking for handouts, sending out their Folger family athletic director, Chris Conte. Why do I say that? Because they're getting paid to have him sponsored. Do you really believe that in this kind of world where you have this kind of disparity, this is Northern Illinois' number right here, do you really believe that they can compete? Well, no, Monty, but are you telling me that Northern Illinois is blessed state?
Do you believe?
They have that Smurf turf up there, boy. Okay.
Homies, there's going to be no Monties on this one. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay. What do you got before I change the graphic? Wait, here's Texas's revenue again for 2023.
192 million, right?
What do you guys believe? No, 182.9 million on football.
Okay, 182.
Somebody take a wild guess. Just put a number in your head.
15 is my guess. 15.
What do you think Boise State's football operating revenue is?
Less than 20.
I'm going to say it's more than that. Well, I know it's more than that. How about 28,500,000? The supposed juggernaut that is saving the Pac-12.
Right.
You're telling me, okay, well, here's Texas, and they're $160 million in football revenue ahead of you. That's a lot of blue turf.
Dude.
I can do this all day long. Because the numbers, and again, I would just remind you, that's not even, friends, that's not even the total number of somebody like an Ohio State.
And remember, when Boise State is at 28 million, what are the numbers we just gave you in cost? That's going to be added should they choose to stay opted into this.
At a baseline, it's 36 million.
So the costs of this thing already eclipse your yearly annual revenue. You're not making that gap up.
No chance.
Like, you're having a different conversation than Texas is or Ohio State is. Like Texas and Ohio State are like, all right, so we got to add these line items to our P&L. We're now going to lower our revenue to this number, for this year. How do we get that money back? Well, you get it back through more sponsorship and private money. That's how.
Let me show you Ohio State's pie of revenue.
Jesus.
This is Ohio State's 2022-2023 number. The last number available, $279 million. That's how they make their money right there, friends. You're looking at it. Okay. Again, pick a G5. Jake, what's a G5 that you San Diego State? Like, what's a G5 that
Memphis?
You want to look at Memphis. Let's pull up Memphis. Is right there. Let's pull up Memphis. Let's talk about Memphis's numbers.
This school that, the Pac-12 is going to poach, this school that has no problem paying for travel, no problem,
Let's just look at their pie chart at Memphis. Take a long look at these numbers at Ohio State.
So okay? 279 mil.
279.5. That's $100 million. Here's Memphis. Look at their tickets. Look at the stack. Direct institutional support is for Ohio State. It's $115,000. For Memphis, it's $15,321,000. Your subsidy. What that means is here's $15.3 million to play sports. Do you understand that? Like, look at the total revenue at Memphis, $64.3 million. You're $210 million behind Ohio State.
And look at the NCAA distribution line. Remember, that number goes down by 1.5 million.
Here's Memphis's NCAA distribution.
So right there,
you're at $900,000.
That's a problem, dude.
This way, I'm using this not to be like, oh, hey, I told you so. I'm trying to illustrate to you hyenas that we're not having a fair level conversation.
Yeah. But Monty, it's Boise State.
Who can't compete with Ohio State? Who can't compete with, pick your poison. You can't compete with it. And I just want people to understand that you're going to spend at a minimum $200 million on athletics. At a minimum, your expense will be $200 million.
Okay, well, what is just humor? What is like a mid-level Big 12 team making right now? Like, what is, Tech or like, not the best team in the Big 12, but just like.
Let's look at Texas Tech. Tech.
So we looked at the low end. What's the middle? I think this is a really interesting.
So like a total revenue number.
Yeah. But what is
from a team that has not been competitive.
Yeah.
In football or basketball at the top of the conference in several years.
And remember, the is at 279.5. Just keep that in mind.
Here's Ohio State's number.
Right.
This is Ohio State's total revenue. Here's Texas Tech. $146.8 million. And notice again, NCAA distribution is $1.4 million.
So you could just delete that line off the chart.
That's gone.
See ya.
Direct institutional support, $5.7 million. Okay. Direct institutional support, $115,000. But again, here's Texas Tech, a mid-level, middle of the pack Big 12 university.
Yeah.
How about Memphis?
So you see
Texas
the
Tech
tiers here.
Texas Tech,
Yeah.
not competing for championships. Memphis, $15.3 million in direct institutional support. $5 million. I'm telling, come on, man. Ticket sales, $18.2 million. Ticket sales, $8.7 million. They're $10 million better than you in ticket sales in Lubbock. This is why I'm trying to explain, folks. A middle of the table, Texas Tech in the Big 12, is dominating a G5. Arguably one of the better G5 programs.
Right.
Dominating. And there's no unwinding that watch.
Yep.
So when we talk about can they compete, man, I just don't see how you compete with that. I don't know how you compete with that.
You don't. You create your own thing for the G5.
Let's see. The Pac-12 has a substantial advantage in every metric used to establish media evaluation, which explains why the top schools in the Mountain West agreed to join. John Wilner, 10-4. So I'm just asking again, and I understand who John Wilner is, and I understand that he very much supports them. But what I'm asking for is, what does that mean in practical, real dollar days? And we won't know until the Pac-12 gets a TV deal. But if my sources are right, and right now the top of the table is $10 million.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What is the practical application of which explains why the top schools in the Mountain West agreed to join? They agreed to join because they bought into the dream that is the Pac-12.
Yeah. And with all due respect, I love John Wilner's work. He does a great job. John Wilner's a Pac-12 guy.
He is.
Always has been, always will be.
He is.
So when you're reading John Wilner's stuff, you got to understand the perspective he's writing from.
He is of the back of the envelope calculation interview.
Yeah. I mean,
where George Kliavkoff talked about getting $50 million
back of the envelope calculations
per year per school. And they never checked him or asked a follow-up question to it. So
I'm not sure that I agree with the assertion that the Pac-12 has a substantial advantage in every metric. If they had a substantial advantage in every metric, they'd already have a TV deal. It already would be done, and you'd already be on to adding either a C membership or like going to court and do that or whatever it was going to be.
And again, we're talking about all of this taking effect in 2026.
Yeah.
We're not talking about next season. So I think the timeline matters. Jay McClanahan, you need to make $100 million a year to play the game. Just in football.
Yeah.
Because I do think your baseline, I think it's more and more and more. Now that we know the scholarship limits went way up, you're paying 34 baseball scholarships.
Which is a lot. That's a lot.
You're paying 15 full share scholarships on basketball. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't have a good understanding of the scholarship thing, like you can be half share, quarter share. Like there's a lot of negotiating
when
that
I
happens.
was considering college, I was offered a 25% scholarship to play baseball at Illinois. Could not afford it. And I had a great radio job at the time. But that's how baseball scholarships work. I can tell you, and I think I've told this story on the show before. I had a friend of mine. I sold cars with him way back in the day. He was a cheerleader at Notre Dame. And he got some paltry amount of money. I mean, a tiny amount of money. and had to pay the rest. But he was a cheerleader, and he got, I don't remember what the number was now, but he got a tiny amount of money on scholarship because he was on the Notre Dame cheer squad.
Yeah.
That's how money works. And every penny counts. And I think what you're going to see now is you're still going to have walk-ons on the baseball team. But I think you are going to see the days of walk-ons in football are over. And they've been over. Like BYU has all of their walk-ons have scholarships paid by NIL.
Right.
Nobody and I think it's the same thing at Utah. Nobody pays, no football player, nobody wearing a football jersey. Practice squad, walk-on, nobody is paying for a scholarship or paying their tuition at Utah or BYU.
Yeah.
NIL covers most of that. So it just tells you how expensive it's getting. It really does. Scott of Greywater Watch. The middle of the pack power conference is what I want to look at. And how much money do you need to compete with the Big Ten and the SEC? Well, what's the biggest program in the SEC? Bama, Georgia. I mean, take your pick.
At Texas already.
Let's look at Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay, because Alabama in total revenue is a behemoth. And their total revenue number, what do you think? Just put a number in your head. Knowing that Texas Tech is at 146, knowing that Texas is at 279, what do you think? If you had to guess.
I mean, I'd put Bama somewhere in the, certainly not as high as the, I mean, the donor base at the is ridiculous, but maybe 2.25, you know?
How about 199 million? $913,000.
Yeah, see, that to me seems light.
And if you look at NCAA distribution, 3.2 million, because they haven't been great in basketball, right?
So that's going to get chopped in half.
Direct institutional support, 6.2 million. But look at their media rights number, $55.6 million. Media rights, zero. Media rights. Look at media rights on, Texas Tech, 25.6 million. Do you guys see how different each of these universities are? And you look at Alabama, and you see ticket sales, $41.8 million. Maybe having a massive 100,000 seat stadium matters. Donations, $48.9 million.
See, but I think that line item of licensing and ads is where you're going to see a lot of growth.
I agree.
I
would agree.
What was that? 16 million, I think, for Bama, right?
Yeah, $16.2 million.
That's got to be 30, 40 mil a year. That's got to be, you got to bump that thing
it's got to go
way
up. It's got to go up. I totally agree with that. And it is.
I mean, the fact that Bama's under 200 is insane to me. I mean, I understand that maybe from a marketing standpoint, and some other institutions are better at it, but Bama's been dominant in football for a decade now, and you're still under 200.
You cannot afford to compete because you can't afford to join the Super League.
Yeah.
Just based on these numbers. And that's why I'm trying to paint this picture that I don't mean to pile on top of people. I'm not trying to show you guys how, and Boise fan gets uppity about this. I'm not trying to show you how small Boise is. I'm not telling you that. What I'm telling you is financially, it's really difficult to compete. When you have schools like Alabama making $200 million and you have schools like Texas making $279 million. And
yeah.
I mean, it's terrifying if you are a G5 right now, because I don't think you can compete. All right. Hour number 2 of the Monty Show, presented by our friends at Prize Picks. Let's talk about Prize Picks.
Uh-huh.
And I want to talk about Prize Picks because, well, frankly, I won on Prize Picks again. I'm on a heater. Monty's back on a heater, bruh.
Yeah.
I told you yesterday, these were my picks. James Cook did not play.
First time in, I think they said 3 years or something.
But it didn't hurt me because I had Josh Allen on a demon, which means it pays higher, for 1 rushing or receiving touchdown. He had 1. Aaron Rodgers to throw 1.5 touchdowns. Passing, he had 2. That paid me $65.
I think I've hit it every time.
Then in Major League Baseball, stupid Shohei Ohtani. I took, you know how close I was to a $190 payout? I chose Ohtani over Juan Soto. And if I'd have taken Juan Soto, they were both 1.5 total bases.
Juan Soto went deep last night.
Sean Manaea, for 5 strikeouts, he had 6. Aaron Judge, for 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, he had 2. It paid me $27.
Nice. See, that's the thing on Prize Picks, though. As long as you're making money, you're in a good place.
That's what I love about Prize Picks. Like why tens of millions of us know what I hope you know, which is Prize Picks is America's best daily fantasy platform. Download the Prize Picks app on your phone. Use the promo code Monty. You make a $5 deposit, they'll give you 50 more.
Yeah.
It is the single best daily fantasy promotion I've ever seen. All you have to do is download the app. Use the promo code Monty. Hook it up. Prize Picks, America's favorite daily fantasy platform. Get on board. The eye patch says, go Yankees. Real quick aside, how many people are watching the Major League Baseball playoffs?
Got to tell you, haven't been real thrilled with the CS series so far. Not really.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like, oh man, dude. You know, Dodgers Mets, like I was way more into Dodgers Padres. Dodgers Mets feels like the Dodgers are dispatching that team in 5 games.
Yeah, well, unfortunately not for the Dodgers because the Mets pounded them yesterday 7-3. Manaea was fantastic. Thank you for striking people out. I think that's going to be an incredibly competitive series. I think the Yankees showed up, and I know that it's guard ball, they call it in Cleveland. I think the Guardians don't have the offensive firepower, in my opinion, consistently enough. When Giancarlo Stanton is hitting home runs, the Yankees are unbeatable.
Yeah.
They're just impossible. And you look at that series and the way that it starts, you get Rodon last night, 6 innings, 3 hits, an earned run, 9 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Gives up the home run. And then you get Cobb for Cleveland, 2 2/3, 5 hits, 3 earned, 3 walks, 3 Ks. How are you going to compete with that when you have Stanton, going deep. You have Soto going deep. And you're shell-shocked at that point because you give up 3 in the 3rd, another in the 4th, another in the 7th, and you get a run in the 6th and the 8th. You never were able to build offensive momentum. I think that series is going to be tough. And if you're going to get Luke Weaver and he's going to be the back end of the bullpen for the Yankees, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
The Guardians are going to have a lot of trouble in that series. And I don't know what it will take to turn that around, but you're going to have an offensive explosion.
And Luke Weaver as a closer's been nice. You know, he started for all those years.
Well, I think you wanted it to be Clay Holmes, but that clearly has not worked out. But isn't today a must-win for Cleveland?
Yes.
With Bibee going and Garrett Cole? This is a big moment for Garrett Cole.
Yeah. Do we get dominant Garrett Cole, or do we get, 5 innings, struggle bus Garrett Cole? Because he was dominant last time out.
But I don't know who your closer will be. Clay Holmes has 30 saves on the season, but it's been erratic.
Well, I think, Aaron Boone likes to use Clay Holmes as the stopper. Like, hey, it's the 5th inning, the 9th inning, the 6th inning. When I need outs, I'm going to go to him. So that's kind of been his change in role. And I think it's worked out so far. It's not ideal. I think Clay Holmes as a closer would be amazing, but it obviously just wasn't for him.
Would you hate a Mets-Yankees World Series?
No, I would not. I would prefer Dodgers-Yankees.
I think we're going to get a Mets because I don't believe Walker Buehler can bounce back in New York.
Yeah, that was a rough outing.
On Wednesday. He's got rocking a 10 ERA. So Mr. Preston says, go Mets. Chris C says, I haven't watched the MLB playoffs at all this year. I only watched regular season.
The DS round was incredible.
It was.
When you've been injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Because every accident has a ripple effect. It affects your time, your health, your ability to make money, everything. That's where the advocates can help. Speaking with an attorney is simple and 100% free. We're available 24/7 for your convenience, and we'll take on the claims process so you can rest easy. Because you're not just a client to us, you're a person, and you deserve the best help you can get. You deserve an advocate.
What would the good old Monty program be without a drama-filled Pac-12 update for you? And I think when you look at this story, it's something we've talked about for going on 2 months now with the college football playoff and the situation with the Pac-12. Sources telling us today that the college football playoff committee is very strongly leaning towards a 5-7 model, which, of course, on the screen you see there would remove the Pac-2 from the college football playoff in 2024. Going forward, we were talking to sources today who told us that the sentiment was very strongly against keeping the Pac-2 in the college football playoff. Now, of course, you understand that if the Pac-12 at that point with 2 members, Oregon State and Washington State, were able to keep its status as an automatic qualifier, if you will, which would be a 6-6 model, 6 highest ranked conference champions and 6 at-large bids. That would absolutely give the Pac-12 an unfair advantage, as I am told by sources close to the committee that they are unwilling to do that at this point. I was also told that's why the College Football Playoff Committee has not taken any action. They have had multiple meetings where they had the opportunity to talk about this. They had the opportunity to make a decision, and they chose to do nothing because there's nothing that is forcing the College Football Playoff Committee to act. And I am told today that they do not wish to keep the Pac-12 with just 2 members in the college football playoff. And Jake, I know how passionate you are about this. Do you agree or disagree with this move?
No, I mean, I agree with it completely. How can we have a conference with 2 teams and it continue to have the AQ, the automatic qualifier, into the college football playoff, right? Like, how can we just, if you set the whole Pac-12 situation aside, just generally speaking, if I said to you, hey, a conference melted down, they've got 2 teams left that are trying to determine what their future is going to look like, do you think we should still give them the automatic qualifier? Even though with only two teams, that essentially guarantees, if they just win some games, they'll get in, right? Because there's not much competition left in their conference, number one, right? Even though with that advantage, we haven't even gotten to the monetary advantage. So, there's all these unfair advantages that giving them the automatic qualifier presents. And so then the next question every Pac-12 defender or apologist wants to say, or even on my Twitter today, all the Oregon State fans were like, well, dude, hey, cut us a break, give us a chance. And it's like, hey, I wish that's what this conversation was about. I wish we were having a conversation about what you like a break that we could cut you, or maybe some slack that we could give you. But the reality of the situation is you're on the outside looking in, and you have been for a decade. And that's the reality of the situation. So the next step in the process is, well, what happens if we merge with the Mountain West? Wouldn't that give us the AQ? Right? Wouldn't that allow us to keep our automatic qualifier into the college football playoff? And my opinion on that is no. Because right now, we're sitting here having a conversation about rewarding 2 schools that were on the short end of the stick in realignment and expansion of other conferences. We're talking about rewarding them. So let me get this right. We're not going to reward them, but if they merge with another conference at the G5 level, we're going to reward all those schools and them. No, that doesn't work. And so for me, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense really in any scenario to give these 2 schools, or those 2 schools and the Mountain West under the Pac-12 umbrella currently, the automatic qualifier. That just should not happen, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a tough road to climb, because our sources also told us that the general sentiment is to a 5-7 model, which means the 5 highest ranked conference champions. Now, that you have 9 at that point. If you remove the Pac-12, you would be down to 9 conferences. The 5 highest ranked of those 9 conferences will get a bid to the college football playoff, and then you would have 7 at-large bids. that 5-7 model, as we talked about last week, because there was all this ruckus, which is completely untrue and completely unfounded, about the Big 12 moving to add, the Oregon State and Washington State. And as we told you last week on the show, our sources at the Big 12, and it was multiple sources and sources in television now as well, have told us that it was never a consideration to add Oregon State and Washington State to the Big 12. And we're told that in that situation, sure, that absolutely puts those two schools in position. But if they remain just those two in the Pac-12, we are told that they have absolutely no path to the college football playoff, and that they would have no chance of being recognized by the College Football Playoff Committee. And I tend to be with you. At that point, you're giving the Pac-12 with two teams an absolutely unfair advantage. Now, having said that, our sources close to the College Football Playoff Committee this afternoon tell us that if the Pac-2 and the Mountain West were to merge, that it is very likely that that conference would be able to make a strong enough case to remain a Power 5 conference, to remain in a situation where the College Football Playoff Committee would have to strongly consider staying at a 6-6 model. Now, this is going to be hotly debated. I am told that without question, there will be a line right down the middle of the subcommittees in the College Football Playoff Committee about the status of a conference with two Pac-12 teams in Oregon State and Washington State and the balance of the Mountain West. Because just like Jake, there is a lot of varying opinions about the veracity of that conference as a P5. Sure, it would have a P5 brand in the Pac-12, but just because you're wearing somebody's shirt doesn't mean you're dressing like them, as the old saying goes. And what I would tell you is, I think that that conference would not be recognized as a P5, but certainly you would stay at a 6-6 model, and you would take the 6 highest ranked conference champions, and that would include whoever would be the champion of the Pac-12. They would get an automatic spot in the college football playoff. And Jake, I know that you are adamantly opposed to that.
Yeah, and the other problem with this is all of this is solved by winning, right? Hey, if you're so good, win on the football field, Washington State and Oregon State. If you want to put all this nonsense aside, auto qualifiers and, merging with the Mountain West and all that good stuff, you want to put all that aside, win football games. Go out and prove that you should be in the top 25 week in and week out the entire season. Go out and prove that you can crawl into that 12-team college football playoff, because that's what it's going to take. That's how you put all this to bed. That's how you say, hey, it doesn't matter if my conference has an automatic qualifier, or, if we're a P5, or it doesn't matter. All that matters is we're inside that top 12 and we secured our spot. And yes, that gets a lot easier if, you stay P5 and, you don't necessarily have to worry about winning your conference at that point. You can get an at-large bid. But my point just simply is, why are we handing out free passes to people who don't deserve them? Right? Because, again, we shouldn't be handing out a free pass to a conference that only has 2 teams. Okay, well, if we're going to use that logic, what do you say about the Big Ten? What do you say about the SEC that's largely a 2-team league? In some years, it's 3 or 4. What do you say about the ACC? Well, what I say about that is those conferences didn't melt down. Those conferences have been alive for however long now. And
have long-standing reputations. And I think one of the other things that's so interesting here is you have to understand this is not for this coming playoff. It is for a year and a half from now. The situation this year is unchanged. We are talking about the 2024-2025 season. That is when all of this happens. And one of the other things that I thought was so interesting is one of our sources today went out of their way to say, when you talk about this today, please drive home the point that the College Football Playoff Committee and the subcommittees related to the College Football Playoff are separate and unrelated to the NCAA. Mm-hmm. That the two bodies function completely separately, and one really has no influence over the other. I think that is a tremendous point. And again, Jake, it's one that you've made several times on this show.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. This isn't a bylaws with the NCAA argument, which so many have tried to make. It's not, hey, like on Twitter over the last couple of weeks, everybody has been pushing how well Washington State has played and how well Oregon State has played. And I don't even disagree with you. But that's for this season. And this season, in the grand scheme of things moving forward for the Pac-12, is almost meaningless for the future of the league because you're having 10 members exit the league.
Yes.
So what happens this year, as well as Washington State has performed, as well as Oregon State has performed, and that includes beating Utah, the back-to-back Pac-12 champions this past weekend, it doesn't matter going forward by a year, because you're going to be reduced. And again, I think the college football playoff should be the last of the concerns for these two remaining members of the Pac-12, because you got to find a schedule to play for all of your sports. And football is probably one of the easier sports to schedule, but your basketball, your softball, your gymnastics, your golf, that's where this becomes more complicated. And I think we're all wrapped up in, hey, are they going to get an automatic spot? Do they qualify for an automatic spot as a top 6? That's all well and good, and we should consider that. But I think the bigger question is, when are they going to have a settlement with the 10 exiting members and the 2 remaining? What's going to happen with the Mountain West and the Pac-2? And again, I will also say my sources continue to indicate to me that the Pac-2 and the Mountain West pretty much have chiseled out a framework for a merger, but nothing can happen until the Pac-2 clearly defines their ownership and control of the liquidity and the assets of the Pac-12 conference. Mm-hmm. And once that situation is settled, they have a November 14th trial date, but I am told that they are not going to get there, that the overwhelming likelihood is that there will be a settlement, because everything on paper is very heavily in favor of Oregon State and Washington State. So going to court, if you're the 10 remaining members, seems like, a death march, if you will. I think it's very likely that there is a settlement, because the elephant in the room is, if you're the Pac-2, you can't wait until November, December, January through trial delays and holiday delays and discovery. You can't wait for that process to play out. It's going to cost you financially, but you're willing to, or you should be. And nobody said Kirk Schultz is good at athletics, but he's a wonderful businessman when it comes to academics. You should be willing to give up some of your money for future earnings and a merger with the Mountain West, because that's your ticket to the college football playoff. And you continue to hear Oregon State and Washington State talk about the fact that they want to play competition at the highest level. Well, how do you do that? How do you do that? And you look at this presentation that President Murthy and Athletic Director Barnes gave. This is not your way when you have a $42 million shortfall at Oregon State. You don't fix this by going to court and being delayed months and months and months and months. That's not how you fix a shortfall like that. You fix a shortfall by being practical and taking short-term loss for long-term gain, in my opinion. And I think the only other piece of news on this that I think is really significant is this conversation about a 5-7 model versus a 6-6 model, because it's completely different. Mm-hmm. And the idea that the Pac-2 could be recognized by the College Football Playoff Committee, I'm told today that there is just no way that happens.
Yeah, and I just think the College Football Playoff Committee, has a responsibility on so many levels. I mean, a lot of people just want to say, well, the committee's got a responsibility to make sure that everyone has access. Well, yeah, sure, I guess in premise, but the committee's actual responsibility is to make sure that they create the best system possible to allow the money to flow through the sport. That's my opinion, right? As a College Football Playoff Committee, yeah, are you deciding, who's ranked where and how you want to match make? Absolutely. But really what you're doing is you're saying, okay, how do we create the best matchups possible within a logical thought process of where a team should be ranked? What kind of story can we tell? Who can we push up a little further? Who can we bring down? What levers can we pull to make sure that we draw the biggest audience possible to appease ESPN and our television partners? That's their job. So if that's your job, Why would you go out of your way? Why would you inconvenience or do something you don't need to do to bring in two schools that don't do anything in football?
Yeah.
They just don't.
But again, this is the hard part about the conversation about the Big 12 supposedly wanting to take on Oregon State and Washington State. There's not a lot of value for the Big 12 there. Like, you look at this Colorado TV number. I mean, I don't know how they continue to do it. I have no idea how Colorado continues to dominate television ratings. That they, at 9 a.m. Pacific time in Los Angeles, and this is important because who did they play in Boulder, Colorado? They played USC from Los Angeles. At 9 a.m. with a kickoff, they averaged 7.2 million viewers and peaked at 10.3.
I'm for real.
Like, that's wild to me that they peaked at 10.3. Can you imagine? And I know everybody says that I pick on Washington State and that I love Oregon State too much. Can you imagine Oregon State or Washington State pulling a number at 9 a.m. in the morning where they average 7.2 million viewers?
No.
I have a hard time believing that. Not as the status quo. I think that is an awfully tall hill to climb. And when we talk about whether or not, Oregon State and Washington State have value, sure they do. Are they winning on the field this year? They are. But is that the norm at Washington State? Has that been the regular at Washington State? It is not. And you are so dysfunctional as a management team at Washington State that Kirk Schultz, we have been told repeatedly, is not somebody that a lot of power brokers in college sports want to do business with. And I understand that. He has had problematic situations everywhere he's been. And you look at this situation with his staff and his faculty being unhappy with the athletic budget, and by some accounts, they were going to do a sit-in, which they forced him into releasing a statement. We broke the news on the show that, hey, he is going to, do a hiring freeze. And Kirk Schultz is not a well-respected guy. And the real tragedy here is not Washington State, it's Oregon State, where you have a very dynamic athletic program that across the board has been successful. You have one of the best athletic directors in the Mountain West of the Rockies, really, in Scott Barnes. And you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you happen to hitch your wagon to the wrong horse, man. Like that's truly the tragedy of Oregon State. It's not that Oregon State's not well respected. They are tremendously respected. You look at the renovation at Research Stadium. You look at the football program. You look at what they've accomplished in baseball and basketball. Like, you don't have to go far to ask anybody in college athletics if Oregon State is a well-respected brand, and the overwhelming answer is yes. But that does not mean that the Big 12 sees value in Corvallis. And we've talked about this as well. I talked to a TV source today who said Corvallis is not Portland. Eugene, Oregon, and the Oregon Ducks deliver you Portland, and part of Washington as well. And if you want Seattle, now let's make an argument for Washington State, because Washington State does well on television, and they do get good penetration into Seattle. But the issue is perception's reality. Kirk Schultz is a pain in the ass. And if you want Seattle in the Pacific Northwest, you're going to Washington and Oregon. You're not going to Washington State and Oregon State. That is the painful reality of it. This whole story about, hey, the Pac-12, and I don't know how much more legwork you need to do to recognize this situation is not sustainable as a two-university conference.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
And the answer isn't a free pass out of the College Football Playoff Committee.
No, it's not.
It's not the answer. The answer is take your medicine, settle the lawsuit, merge with the Mountain West, and let's see how it shakes out. That's the answer. And I get it. That's not a great answer. That's not a sexy answer for Washington State or Oregon State. And more to the point, because Oregon State will be fine in the Mountain West.
Oregon State will be fine.
They'll dominate that conference. They'll get opportunities. I firmly believe that. Washington State's the different story because they have debt load in their athletic department, and they're not going to make...
And dysfunction.
Yeah, and dysfunction. They're not going to make the kind of money they need to make to dig out of that debt load in athletics. And I think that is the hard part. So when everyone this past week has been talking about, these two schools going to the Big 12, that's a bunch of crap. If we're going to sit here and talk about the future of these two schools, it's very straightforward. You're going to the Mountain West.
And the funny part about all of this is we do a lot of outreach on this show. We talk to a lot of different people. Very rarely do you get somebody that's adamant. And it's not one person that's adamant. It's multiple people who are adamant. Like talking to people involved in the Pac-12, and they know that they cannot sustain two universities. Yet there's all of this noise out here. Oh, the Pac-2 is staying together. For what? And they know that. They understand that, right? Like you talk to people in TV and they're like, this isn't even a possibility. Like I had somebody in television say to me, we've got to stop doing this in the media. It's never been a possibility.
So get your facts
Talking
straight.
to people at the Big 12, adamant. And usually I don't fill in conversations with color commentary about things that were like, we had somebody tell us this was what a stupid question. People in the Big 12 want nothing to do with Oregon State and Washington State. They are solely focused on what's going on in the ACC.
Stupid ass question.
Solely focused on 3 to 5 years down the road, building their. And I think the quote was, we are solely focused on the business of building our business.
Yeah.
Because they know that they have to add money, that they have to add revenue sources, because when all of this, and most people think in the next 3 to 5 years, realignment will have completely refaced the college football. You've got to have resources and you have to have agility, the ability to move. If you go to 20 right now with where the Big 12 is at, or the Big 10 is at even, like you're done. Like you are weighted down. You are adding weight to a sinking ship, and you can't do it. And they won't do it. And they don't want to go to nobody wants to be at 20 right now.
Yeah.
Now, if the ACC melts down, you could be talking about conferences going to 20.
That's what I'm saying. All the answers lie in the behavior of the conferences, right?
Yes.
So the conferences are telling us what we need to know without telling us anything, which is, hey, nobody wants to go to 20 because they know the ticking time bomb out east. They understand the situation. And so that's why I say every school in the ACC should learn the Washington State, Oregon State lesson. If you're not marketing and you're not winning on the field, you will get left behind and nobody cares about you. It's the reality of the business. And I think we haven't seen much of this up until this point because we haven't seen a realignment and expansion on this level in college football. The volatility in the market, as they say, right? It's such a fine line. You either are or you are not. There's no little Cinderella story in the middle.
I want to go back to this thing about winning on the field and the importance of it. I look at Stanford and Cal and SMU. SMU might be the best example
Seriously.
in this Pac-2 situation. There's zero value in people in the Big 12, people in television. We reported this all summer long. People repeatedly told us there's one value at SMU. They will take zero money from you, and they will bring money and they will pay you money to join your conference. The Pac-12, I think, probably would have added SMU had they stayed together. The Big 12 wanted nothing to do with SMU. And the ACC only added 3 teams that don't win games. Cal, Stanford, and SMU that don't win games. On the football field and the basketball court, I'd mind you. Because it gave most of the members, excluding Florida State and Clemson, it gave them a voting advantage, number one. And number two, SMU made everybody a bunch of money.
Now, if you guys want to talk about, hey, why did they add Calford over Oregon State and Washington State? That is got life to it. I think
that's easy.
That's a serious conversation. Like, to me, I think that you chose Calford over Oregon and Washington State simply because nobody wants to do business with Kirk Schultz, and everyone damn well knows that Washington State and Oregon State, given the situation, were a package deal.
And Stanford and Cal make you money outside of athletics. They raise your IQ factor with advertisers because they're fantastic educational institutions. So you're going to make brand money. You're going to make academic money. You're going to make research money. And it delivers you the San Francisco Bay, Northern California market, which currently only one conference really has, and that is now the ACC. So there's lots of value in that. The problem for Oregon State and Washington State, when you compare it to Stanford and Cal, is they're not great academically compared to Stanford and Cal because who is, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to make it. It's not the automatic, like rubber stamp, yes, we want Stanford and Cal. Pretty much, I mean, outside of the Big Ten, who, much like the Big 12, didn't want to add 6 Pac-12 teams. That was something that everybody else seems to think, was never talked about. And I was the first one to tell you, and I don't mind saying that, the Big 12 doesn't want 6 Pac-12 teams. It wants, the Big 12, I am told, wants nothing to do with that. And again, I'll tell you the same thing I said last week. We were told directly, the headache is leaving the conference in Texas and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We're not bringing a headache in with 6 brothers and sisters hanging out together.
Nope.
And I think that is absolutely the right way to go. And I think in the Big Ten, it was twofold. They didn't want to go to 20, and they didn't want to add 6 Big 12 teams. Pac-12 teams. So there's all these reasons. Are any of them good? If you're a fan of Oregon State or Washington State, are any of them good? Probably not. Are they good enough? Probably not. Are they reality? Hell yeah, they are. And there's nothing you're going to do about it.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of the situation. Because if you're a behemoth, and it's Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a pain in the ass. And I'm a Notre Dame fan, right? Notre Dame is a pain in the ass.
Notre Dame, our mother.
Notre Dame walks around with a massive jackhammer over their shoulder, and they're like, they get what they want. They were a problem in the ACC, right? Hey, yeah, we'll join, but we're not going to give you the thing that you really want, which is football. And we're going to be a gigantic pain in the ass, too. When it comes to like voting on stuff and giving our opinion, yeah, we're going to be a gigantic pain in the ass. But why did you do that? Because Notre Dame makes you money.
Yep.
Notre Dame puts people on their TV sets. Notre Dame sells tickets. Notre Dame sells merchandise with that little ACC logo on it. Like, Notre Dame helps you make money. Does Oregon State do that?
No.
They don't. Does Washington State and money making do not go hand in hand?
No.
Ever on any level?
No.
Now, do they bring people to the TV? Washington State does. Do they win football games? Sometimes. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. It's not unequivocal. It's not a slam dunk. But it is what it is. Whew. How we all doing?
We're good.
All right. Less of us, more of you. Only after we hit our daily buckshot right here on the Monty Show. And I got to tell you guys, we are rocketing towards a goal that we have worked really hard to reach with Bucked Up. We are trying to move 300 sample packs of Bucked Up's buckshot. It's free. In the description below, you guys can get 6 free buckshots. No strings attached. If you just go to the link, click the link, that's exactly what you're going to see on your screen right there. Claim your 6 free buckshots, fill out your information, and they'll send them right to your front door. And I tell you, every single day, it's clean, long-lasting energy that gets you through your day. Like, my wife today had a huge presentation. She's like kind of a big deal. She works at a major corporation. She did a global presentation today. And what did she do about 30 minutes before that? She had a buckshot.
I'm for real.
Because it gives you mental clarity. It's 200 milligrams of natural sourced caffeine and a bunch of brain food. So it gives you energy and it gives you a mental lift. So there's no crash. There's no spike. It's just really high quality ingredients that make a really high quality product that does exactly what it says it's going to do. So we are 25% of the way to 100 6-packs given away a buckshot. So everybody right now, if you could, A, hit the like button, and then B, there's 600 people watching the show. If you could go and get your sample of buckshot, your free 6 buckshots, hook it up. That would really help us. We appreciate that. We're trying to break a record at Bucked Up for most buckshot samples in a month. Let's make October special. Bucked Up, buckedup.com, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. Oh, by the way, should you need more supplements, do not hesitate to use the promo code Monty20 to get 20% off at checkout at buckedup.com. All right, let's get your comments in here. Thank you very much for being here every day. We could not do what we do without you guys. You are amazing. Oh, man, always a good way to start the show. A brand new member, Kyle A. Welcome back to the membership.
Let's go, baby. Good start to the day here.
Let's go, Kyle A. Appreciate you. Big Blue Horses for $5. So the college football playoff gives the Big 10 3 spots, the SEC 3 spots, Notre Dame a spot, ACC 1 spot, Big 12 1 spot, and 3 at large for everybody else. The CFP is the Big and the SEC centered anyways. The way this would work, and see, I don't even think you're wrong. Like, you're going to have, by default almost, you're going to have the SEC get 2 lost teams into the college football playoff. When it's a 12-team playoff, it's going to piss people off that, no, UTSA didn't get in, but Alabama, let's say, or Auburn or Florida, but they're going to lose like 6 games until they fire their coach, with all due respect.
Because it's garbage.
You're going to have 2 loss, maybe a 3-loss SEC team get in. Now in the Big Ten, you're going to have, routinely, you're going to have Ohio State and Michigan losing multiple games every single year. And they're still going to get into the college football playoff. Is Fresno State, a 1-loss team, going to get passed over for a 2-loss Ohio State? You got damn right they will.
Yes.
And you better get used to it. You don't have to like it, but you better learn to love it.
Yeah.
Because it is what it is. And that's big-time college football. And the one thing I would caution you, and again, I'm not trying to be a red ass and I'm not trying to stir the pot, but I'm just telling you now, just because there's an expanded college football playoff does not mean the table has been leveled or...
Oh, the little guy has more opportunity. The biggest crock of crap I've heard in a long time.
No, they don't. And they're not going to. It just is what it is, as much as you hate that. And I understand why you hate that. I do. Kyle Wilson, Monty and Jake just want Oregon State and Washington State. So it's us. We're the ones. Like, we have any decision on this? What are you talking about? Want Oregon State and Washington State to become permanently irrelevant. Winning the Mountain West will always mean absolutely nothing, bringing 0 money. Okay, so tell us you don't understand the college football playoff without telling us you don't understand the college football playoff. First of all, if you win the Mountain West, my guess is you'll be one of the 6 highest ranked conference champions. That's just strictly a guess based on the fact that, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, the Big 10, they're getting in, right? So, and then you're going to have one more for your 5-7, right? So the 5, let's say it's 5-7. The 5 highest rated conference. You don't think winning a new Pac-12 Mountain West merger conference gets you into the college football playoff? That's what you're saying here. Because, I want Oregon State and Washington State to be irrelevant. Why would I want Oregon State?
It's not what we want. It's what it is. That's what I'm saying. Going to the Mountain West provides Oregon State opportunities, because I believe Oregon State beats Washington State most matchups, especially at Reser. So if we're projecting forward, Oregon State will have plenty of opportunity. The only question is going to be, if you're going to be in a basically a 4A caliber Mountain West conference, what's the recruiting look like? What's the impact and talent that you're going to take? Like, how does that affect your football program? Because that's the conversation. But there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to win that conference and book yourself a spot. There's no reason.
It is beyond me that, and it's particularly Oregon State fan. How you're such a red ass, I have no idea. But can you not put your guns down for 5 minutes, lower your hands for 5 minutes, and try to understand why? So your idea then that a merger with the Mountain West is bad. Ask yourself what the Pac-12 is. Because if a Mountain West merger is bad, what is a Pac-12 alone? Tragic, terrible, awful, like a death knell?
I knew today would be shitty.
Because you're not going to bowl games. You're not going to the college football playoff. You have no bowl tie-ins, zero.
None.
So where are you going to find? Because if you're playing some kind of thrown together schedule, like, do you think about this stuff before you just like rage on about how we want what does we want Oregon State and Washington State have to do with any? We have zero power over anything. Like what I want Notre Dame to win the national championship every year. How's that working out?
Notre Dame, our mother.
Like, you can't win the national championship with 10 guys on the field. I just want you to know that, okay?
Thank you.
Just a piece of advice. Since
if
you have all the power,
if you could send like a text message to Marcus Freeman and tell him that'd be great.
Well, you have his number, right? I mean, because you know all these people.
Well, yeah.
And,
according to Kyle Wilson, I have all the power, and I just want. Or like, what are you talking about, guy? What are you talking about? Conference Commissioner Gumby, Notre Dame is a Latin term. Look, man, it's okay. Latin. It's Latin for 10 men on the field.
Apparently.
It's ridiculous. Christopher Shannon. Now here comes all the Notre Dame hate, I'm sure. Notre Dame is a brand, and that's it. They are holding on to oldness.
At least they're relevant, dude.
They are one of the, and if they're holding on to oldness, apparently oldness makes you money. Because the biggest problem at Notre Dame, they don't have to go out and earn it on the field anymore. They don't, because they get huge TV money. They're looking at, do you guys understand that they're looking at a $75 million a year deal with NBC?
They can afford to have 10 guys on the field on the goal line, bud. Because
you're making money hand over fist, and it's all yours. You don't have to split it. None of that. Their football only is $75 million a year.
Which pays for everything else, and then you're going to profit. So what are we talking about?
Notre Dame, the biggest problem with Notre Dame is they don't have to earn anything.
Yeah.
And when everything's given to you, you get complacent. And I think hiring Marcus Freeman is absolutely complacent. I think it is a huge mistake to have hired. I hate it. Please don't get me started. Let's see. Connor Johnson. I just want to know how the college football playoff is going to change their model with Schultz having a vote on the board. God. Okay, so I don't know. And I've explained this 1,000 times. How much influence do you think Kurt Schultz has? So you're in a room with a bunch of other people.
Hey, guys.
And you're the only dissenting voice at the table. Do you really think he's going to hold out? Or, and I know I could be crazy, maybe they tell him, we'll give you a 6-6, or we're open to a 6-6 now that you've merged with the Mountain West. Because do you really think Kirk Schultz is walking into a college football playoff committee meeting and saying, nope, I'm standing on my own? We are the Pac-12, and you MFers are going to give us $320 million.
Washington State, our mother.
I've asked this question directly to people, and people laugh at me every time I ask it. Like I talked to a source last week, and I was like, how much sway does Kurt Schultz have? And the answer started with, oh man, that's what the answer started. Do you really think Kirk Schultz is, do you think he's the Don sitting at the head of the table and he's like, all right, yeah, go drop a dime on whatever G5 team so we can get in? Do you really think he has any sway at all? He has no sway whatsoever. Because when you stand in front of a freight train, and that's what the college football playoff is. Imagine Kurt Schultz standing on the track in front of a bullet train. Who wins?
Ain't ducking no smoke.
Because I'm telling you, the bullet train's undefeated. Kirk Schultz doesn't have the sway, the influence, and you know what else he doesn't have? The relationships. I've said it 1,000 times over the last 3 to 6 months. Kirk Schultz has zero sphere. He has zero influence. He doesn't have a lot of friends. He's not Jack Swarbrick at Notre Dame, who knows everybody and their mother. He's not that guy, pal. He's not.
Yeah.
So you can talk about how he's on the subcommittees and, hey, this guy's on the subcommittee. When it ultimately comes down to one dude standing in the way, who do you think's going to win?
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
And here's the other thing. And again, I know I'm just little old Monty over here. Well, just trying to do whatever I can do to screw Oregon State and Washington State.
We really did.
So why hasn't he stood in the way already? They've had meetings for the last 10 days. What did they have, 5 straight days of meetings the other week? Did he stand in the way? No. You know why? Because they wouldn't even give him the chance to stand in the way, dude. They wouldn't even give him the chance.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even talk about his conference. They wouldn't even talk about 5766. Because when these decisions are made, do you really think they make these decisions? And I'm not trying to be an asshole about this. I'm truly not. But do you really think they make these decisions when they walk in the room like, all right, everybody come on in. Let's, so what do you guys think about this 5-7 nonsense?
It's probably different than what you're thinking, though.
Why don't we just take a quick vote and see where we're at? Do you really think that's how this game is played, friends? These are all millionaires. These are all highfalutin people. And I know, let's get crazy, they all have phones. Oh, my God.
Dude, chill.
They all have telephones, and
I know, reset.
they talk when they're not meeting. Like, you guys think about this before you say stuff like, I just want to know how the college football playoff committee is going to change their model with Schultz having a vote on the board. You really think he has the power to stand in the way? And even if he had the power, do you think he would stand in the way? How much damage would he do to the Pac-12? Because that would be the only way he would stand in the way. Which, again, I know I'm just guy over here trying to screw over Washington State and Oregon State.
Right.
But the only reason Kirk Schultz would stand in the way of 5-7 versus 6-6 is if he was trying to keep the Pac-12 together.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it?
Where it's just the Pac-12 and it's the two of us against all of you and screw the bullet train, I'm getting on the tracks. Kirk Schultz doesn't want to be the Pac-12. He wants to merge with the Mountain West. He knows that's the path to athletic prosperity financially.
But how does he do that? Oh, that's right. It has nothing to do with the college football playoff. He needs to settle the case so they can get on with getting on and building schedules and merging with the Mountain West.
Stop it. You're hurting people's feelings.
Dude, then he can roll in with his smug-ass face and glasses and try to take over the college football playoff with his one board vote.
I'm just trying, you guys. I am just trying to get you to a place where you think through this stuff before you say, like, again, let me get another...
My bad.
Beaver Shane. I love that Schultz is making this so difficult for the shitheads. He's
not, though.
He's not.
He's not. That's what I'm saying. So, Oregon State fan right now, with all due respect, because I don't mean this personally, you're suffering little brother syndrome right now. You are quite literally in a place where you're like, oh, Kirk Schultz is getting in the way, and it's us against the world. And even though he's not the president of our institution.
But it's this comment, Michael Langford, who wants to run out head-to-head records. And what is that? And Michael, you're smarter than me, very clearly. Very clearly, you are your brain is. But I'm just asking, what does this have to do with how does this impact the college football playoff? How does this impact 5-7, 6-6? How does this impact the court case of the Pac-12 versus the 10 exiting members?
When's the last time I was talking about Oregon State and Washington State in December?
I'm trying to help you guys. And you want to keep going back to, Washington State's record. Nobody's doubting that Washington State has people that watch TV in Seattle. Nobody is doubting that. And if you're a Washington State fan, I'd love your rationale on how you think there is anything that is normal. The wheel is greased and quiet and it just turns and we make money and win games at Washington State. Because I can tell you, I have talked to people in both Pullman. I have talked to people in Spokane. Like, nobody thinks that. You don't have a faculty sit-in over the athletic budget because Washington State, what do you say here? Washington State 57-47 the last 10 years over Oregon State. Well, fuck, let them spend as much money as they want then. I mean, I'm just going to go back to the chemistry lab. They know what they're doing because they beat Oregon State every year.
By the way, if you're going to come after me on that comment, my man, let's define winning. See, again, more little brother syndrome here, right? You're making me, you're not breaking me, as Prime says. What did you do with this comment? You showed me that you're only thinking about what happens with Washington State and Oregon State. This conversation isn't about the head-to-head, man. This conversation's about what happens in December.
Yes.
This conversation's about what happens with ESPN. You know, that little 4-star network that puts on the college football playoff every year? You've not been in it. You haven't even been a factor in it. So that's what I'm talking about. Yes, people watch your football games. No, not enough people watch your football games to affect the college football playoff. No, you don't win enough to be relevant in December. In your conference, I'll say this, in your conference, Oregon State and Washington State have wrecked many USC seasons. There's no question about that.
I just don't...
It's not difficult.
I don't understand why, Oregon State fan, why are you so mad? Why? Like, I don't know that I could say anything, any more niceties than I have ever said about... I've never said a cross word about Oregon State.
By the way, we've only been sitting here for the last month talking about how Oregon State and Washington State should go to the Mountain West because that's essentially a yellow brick road to the college football playoff.
This is the last Oregon State comment I'm going to read the entire day until tomorrow. I can't do it anymore. Kyle, I want to help you, but dude, you just keep digging another foot down into your grave. What is Colorado won? What is ASU won? Okay, well, here, let me spell it out for you.
Man, wow.
I think you might be trolling at this point. I can't believe this is truly what you believe as a comment. I can't believe it. Dude, you know what Colorado won? You know, they won the Coach Prime Derby, who put 7.2 million people on their TVs at 9 a.m. Pacific time. That's what they won. You know what else they won? They sold out their stadium for the entire year. You know what else they won? Everybody wants to flex them into their national TV schedule.
What did Utah and Oregon State draw this week? Oh, that's right, 1.28 million at home in your recently renovated stadium. Try
that on for size, man. 9 a.m. in the morning when every USC fan is still sleeping off a hangover. Because notice the second line peaked at 10.3 million viewers, 3:30 to 3:45 Eastern. Why did it peak at 3:30 to 3:45? Eastern. You know why? Because, we had a frat house party last night. Friday night was unbelievable. You guys, I don't know if you have seen the co-eds at USC, but... dude, slept that one off. Oh, that's right. We're at Colorado. Let's flip on the TV at 12:30 in the afternoon in Los Angeles. Friends, that's what you don't understand. And what is ASU won? Nothing. You know what ASU's won? They're friends with Bobby Robbins down in Tucson, who has one of the most desirable basketball brands in all of college hoop.
Hey, did ASU get into another conference in realignment, by the way?
And you may be new to the show, and again, I'm going to buy into the fact that this is a trolling comment. But if you don't understand that Utah has, do I really have to explain the football program at Utah to you?
Yeah, what have they won? I don't know, just the conference the last 2 years?
Just back-to-back conference championships.
What are you talking about?
Just the fact that they have one of the most successful athletic departments in the country. They have one of the most desirable athletic directors in the country. They have a president who was a peacemaker and a facilitator and a communicator.
Isn't Mark Harlan part of the committee?
He is. And I don't think you get this. I just don't think you get it. I think this is 100%. I think this is because you can't possibly believe this.
Yeah.
You cannot possibly believe that Colorado has no worth to anybody.
Have they won anything? No, they haven't won anything.
But
they've won a couple games, but
again,
that doesn't matter.
I just keep telling you guys, Stanford and Cal. What has Stanford and Cal won?
Nothing.
Where are they? They're in the ACC. What has SMU won? Nothing. But their value is they bring money. Does Oregon State bring money? Does Washington State bring money? No, they bring debt. Again, I'm just showing you, because I want to make this clear. This is the last Oregon State comment on the show today. I'm over this trolling thing. This is what President Murphy and your athletic director, Scott Barnes, presented to the Oregon Assembly, which is the state assembly. So you bring money? No, you don't. You're $42.1 million in the hole going forward. So let me get this right. Colorado hasn't won anything, but their football stadium sold out for the entire year. They're drawing 10 million people on Fox. Yeah, why would we want that? Now let's get Oregon State, who is $42.1 million in debt, according to Oregon State, who presented this to the Oregon State Assembly. I don't think you can. That's why I say I'm sure that you know this. I'm sure that you know this. That's because I think you've commented on our show in the past, and you cannot possibly be this not.
Yeah.
You can't. It's not possible. No, they don't. And then you say stuff like wins matter. No, they don't. Not when you're talking about money. Then why is SMU, Cal, and Stanford in the ACC? You did a very poor job of representing Oregon State today. Aaron Wilson, my favorite is when Monty is frustrated and impassioned. It really pisses me off that Oregon State fans have this unbelievable athletic director, a president who, while she's new, is really working hard, and people actually like her, and you're just obstinate. Listen, Washington State fan, I understand. You guys got roller-cocked. I understand why you guys are upset. I totally get it.
Macaque.
Right? I totally get it. I have no idea why Oregon State fan struggles with this math.
Because, dude, I know why. It's very easy to understand. You're little brother to Oregon, and that pisses you off, and I get it.
Johnny Gonzalez, Beaver fans, you're better than this. I totally agree.
That's what I'm saying.
Totally agree.
Totally
agree. It's remarkable that you can't grasp what Colorado means to the Big 12. That Coach Prime and his 10 million viewers, what that means to the Big 12.
Do you believe?
Who are losing Texas and Oklahoma, who are going to play arguably the most important regular season football game of the season on Saturday at the Cotton Bowl. Those two universities are going to the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to wonder what Colorado's value to the Big 12 is?
Come on now.
You're going to wonder what Arizona's value to the Big 12 is when they're talking about building the greatest college basketball machine we've ever seen? You're going to wonder what Utah's value to the Big 12 is when they're back-to-back Pac-12 champions and they've been to the Rose Bowl 2 years and their defense routinely recruits and puts guys in the NFL. And then I'm going to have to explain why Arizona, who tried to pull a revolt on joining the Big 12 and almost got you into the conference, I'm going to have to explain how Arizona State got in? Come on. Oregon State, you're way better than that. You are way better than that. All right. Congratulations, Oregon State. We just spent 20 minutes talking about it. And it's sad because I don't think the comments that were I don't believe that this cut of Oregon State fan represents the general Oregon State fan. I don't. We've had too many quality Oregon State fans on the show for too long. And yeah, there you go. All right.
Okay.
Football 50 presented, as always, by our good friends at Prize Picks. Oh, man, did I get piped on Prize Picks last night.
Dude. I don't ever want to hear, oh, well, Daniel Jones, surely he can throw one touchdown. No, never again. Ever. Literally ever.
You want to know the funniest part of my Prize Picks last night? Let me pull out my brand new iPhone 15 Pro Max to open my Prize Picks app here. The worst part about last night was not even Daniel Jones, which was really bad.
Because it's garbage.
I mean, it was not good. Last night, the worst part was DK Metcalf wins in the first quarter, 33.5 yards in the first half more, done.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Wagner was 3.5 or more, I think it was. He had those in the first quarter. Jason Pinnock, the safety of the Giants. I need 3 out of 5 to hit to get my money back.
Yeah, well, how'd that work out?
It was 5 or more. He's at 3 with 12 minutes to go in the game.
Oh, no problem. Plenty of time.
Seattle's running the clock out, just running the football. Good old number 27 of the G-men, just standing at the top of every pile. Yeah, good job, guys. Good tackle.
He's looking down into the Grand Canyon,
man,
dude.
let me give you a hand up. Oh, man, let me tell you. Whew.
Bro,
that was awesome tackle.
Jamie Gillen, help me. The punter for the Giants. Now,
the missed field goal piped you.
Me trying to actually do homework on Prize Picks instead of just going off my instinct and, full sending it. Yeah, so the punter for the Giants last night, more or less 4.5 punts, averages 3 punts a game. There's only been, before last night, they'd played 3 games, pretty reliable. I'm like, okay, cool. That's basically an auto win. All they got to do is basically score 3 times tonight, which really shouldn't be that difficult, right? No. It turns out it was difficult because Buddy punted 5 times last night. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Why don't we throw more Microsoft slates at Daniel Jones on the bench? Man. Man.
Dudes.
I swear.
That was so fun. And listen, I'm not a Giants fan, but who am I to I'm a Chicago Bears fan.
Are there any Giants fans left? Like, did you guys convert yourself to Eagles fans or Jets fans or what are we doing?
Last night, Daniel Jones on my Prize Picks, you guys. Daniel Jones, I had 230. I needed 231 yards.
Which really is not a big ask, especially at home.
No, he did 203. Darius Slayton. I needed 41 yards receiving. He had 23 and he dropped a 30-yard bomb. Hit him in the chest. Dropped it. Any of those happen, I win.
Yeah. But no.
So today I stayed away from baseball.
Yeah, seriously.
Because I'd have taken Glass now who got shelled.
Yeah.
So when you just don't feel the juju,
and
you're like.
And on top of that, we got Beef Fan doing some beaving today.
Yeah. The beef is real. All right, hour number 2 of the Monty Show, as always, presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. You guys, if you got hurt at work today, I can't tell you how many people ask me about workman's comp and The Advocates. It is so scary when you get hurt at work because you don't know, when am I going to get paid again? Am I going to get paid again? Is my boss going to do what he said he's going to do? Is the company going to take care of me? None of those should be your concern. Because you went to The Advocates, theadvocates.com, where you never come out of pocket to pay The Advocates for representation. You only pay The Advocates when they win your case, period. No consultations, no retainers, nothing. And the people at The Advocates understand what you're going through, and they know, especially when you get hurt at work, there's so much insecurity. What you get at The Advocates, yes, you get the best legal representation possible. But you also get peace of mind because there's nothing they haven't seen. They know how to handle your case step by step by step. Let them take all of your nervousness. Let them take all of your animosity. Let them take all of your insecurity. The Advocates at theadvocates.com, where you can chat with one of the elite injury attorneys in the business 24/7, 365 at theadvocates.com. And again, you guys, these are good people we're talking about. I've known The Advocates for over a decade. They are working with The Road Home, which is one of the foremost homeless advocacy groups in the country. And what they're doing is they are trying to get as many Halloween costumes for homeless kids as possible. And I just ask you to go back to your childhood and think about the costumes you wore. Right? I was a fireman. I was a fireman. I was Ryan Sandberg. One year I was Walter Payton. I'll never forget putting on that football helmet, being Walter Payton that year. It was amazing. There are so many kids today who will never have that opportunity because they are homeless. You know what the economy's like. You know what mortgages and rentals are like right now. There's a lot of kids who don't know where they're going to sleep tonight. That's where The Road Home comes in. That's where The Advocates come in. Let's give them a day of normalcy. Let's donate to the advocates on Venmo. Let me get this banner down for you. There is their Venmo. Screenshot that. Please consider sending $1, $5, $1 million, whatever you can spare. Send it to the advocates and just put in their Halloween costume.